to order.
I would like to read a disclaimer. Notice of the February meeting of the Real Estate Commission, including date, time, and location, has been noticed on the Tennessee Real Estate website September 15th, 2024. Additionally, this month's agenda has been posted on the website since Tuesday, February 4th. Individuals who wish to make a public comment on an item listed on the posted agenda during the scheduled public comment period will need to sign in on the provided sign-in sheet or by placing their names in the chat box online. It is requested that comments be limited to 3 minutes out of respect for other speakers. I will now call the roll. Chair Diaz, Vice Chair Ferris,
Here.
Commissioner Moffitt, Commissioner Begley,
Here.
Commissioner Torbett,
Here.
Commissioner Gwynn,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Tucker, Commissioner Gahn.
Here.
We now have a quorum.
Thank you. I will now ask for Commissioner Torbett to please lead us in a prayer to get this meeting started.
Everybody bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for safe travel for those who have traveled. I ask that you just be with us today. Help us to honor you in our words and actions. Give us safe travel home. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Stacy. Commissioner Smith, please lead us in the pledge.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Moving to the approval of the agenda, are there any changes to this agenda or questions as it stands at this moment?
Commissioner Ferris, I do have a change to the agenda. I would like to add a legislative update after the executive director report, if that's possible. I also want to move up one of the guest speakers that we have, Rice Insurance Center. If we can move that speaker before the education report, we would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Is there any questions about that from the commission? If there are no questions, may I get a vote to approve motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Smith to approve, second by Commissioner Torbett. All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Looking at the meeting minutes from December 11th, 2024, are there any changes or questions? And if not, may I have a motion to approve those minutes by the commission? Commissioner Gahn moves to approve those meetings minutes, second by Commissioner Begley. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor for approval of the December 2024 meeting minutes. Now, Ms. Baker, are we ready to move to the informal appearances?
Yes, we have 4 informal appearances today, and I want to make sure that everyone is here and their principal broker. Candidate A, Colby Miller with principal broker Chris Claybow. Are you here? Okay, I will mark you as absent. Next, we have candidate B, Brandon Mullins Lowe with principal broker Sue Carol Akey. Are you all here? AC, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Are you all here?
You're fine. Yes, I'm here.
Is
I don't know whether. I'm assuming Mr. Lowe is here.
I do not see him. If he were to appear before we're finished with informal appearances, we'll present you before the commission, okay?
Okay.
Next, we have candidate C, Michael or Michelle. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Michelle Urbano.
Michelle, Anthony's phone.
Anthony, I'm so sorry. I mispronounced your name. I do apologize. Do you have your principal broker here, Amanda Green?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Lastly, we have Jenna Cooper with principal broker Amanda Green as well.
I'm here.
All right. Very good. First, we will begin with Anthony. which is candidate C. He is before us today due to a felony conviction of unlawful possession of a handgun. He has taken and passed the acquisition agent exam. His statement and letter of recommendation can be found on your iPad.
This is candidate C, you said?
Yes, it's candidate C.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Can you say your last name, pronounce your last name for me, please?
Linares.
Linares. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us. I'm DJ. Please,
Thank you for having me.
please share with us, Mr. Linares, the circumstances that bring you before us today, that we can hear what you have to share with us, please.
Well, where do I start? First off, I want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity, which is more than I could ever ask for. We're here today to speak about something that happened more than 8 years ago. I was a kid at the time, per se. Circumstances were rough at home. And I did a lot of things I'm not proud of. Moving forward from that, I'm more than happy. I am more than proud to say that I've overcame that. I started a family, I've married, I've been in so many different fields, from hospitality to construction sites to just finding everything and anything that I can do to improve myself and to better myself and to kind of right that wrong. I have a kid now, 1 year old, and that's kind of what I push for, what I strive for. So I'm here today just asking for opportunity to continue to do that, to continue to lead down the path that I started a while back and that I'm still proudly walking.
Thank you, Mr. Linares. Thank you for sharing
sir.
that. Do any of the commission members have any questions for Mr. Is it Anthony?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Anthony. No questions. Ms. Green,
Yes, sir.
I'm DJ. Thank you for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
If you would take a moment or two to share how you know Mr. Linares, talk about your business and your practice as a principal broker and what your vision is for bringing him into your company. And then if there are any questions, the commission members will feel free to pose those to you afterwards.
Well, I met Anthony when he applied, and we call him Anthony because all the other ones are confusing for all of us. But he told me his story, and our company does background checks, and I just feel like he's a good candidate because where his focus is now, and we all make mistakes. So we've decided that we would hire him as a company if you guys will approve his license.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda. Any questions? Anybody? Seeing no questions, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve Mr. Linares by Commissioner Torbett and second by Commissioner Gwynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Mr. Linares, thank you for joining us. Congratulations. We wish you well. Mr. Green, thank you for joining us as well. I think you're going to hang around for one more, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you,
Yes.
guys. God bless you.
Thank you, Anthony. God bless you.
Amen.
Next, we have candidate D, Ms. Jenna Cooper. She is before us today due to a felony charge of possession of stolen goods and property, felony of possession of controlled substance, felony of a possession of controlled substance and on jail premises and possession of methamphetamine. She has taken and passed the acquisition agent exam. Her statement and letter of recommendation can be found on your iPad.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Ms. Cooper,
I'm here.
good morning. Will you pronounce your first name for me, please?
It's Gina.
Gina. Good morning, Gina. I'm DJ. Thank you for joining us this morning. You heard Mr. Linares and Ms. Green how that progressed. Can you share with us, Ms. Cooper, your story of what led you here today, please?
Yes, absolutely. So, I struggled with substance abuse disorder for the good portion of my adult life. And so that is what correlates directly for my charges. And that's exactly why they came about, was because I was struggling with, substance abuse. Since moving to Tennessee, I'm originally from Asheville. I moved to Tennessee about 6 years ago, and I've been clean and problem free ever since. And it would change my life, honestly, to be given an opportunity like this. I'm a single mom, and I've been working in hospitality since I moved here as a bartender. And I think it's just time for me to shift my focus in another direction, and this would help me so much.
Thank you for sharing, Ms. Cooper.
Hmm.
Are there any questions for Ms. Cooper by the commission members? Thank you. Ms. Green?
Well, I also met Gina when she applied with Westgate, and drugs are a bad thing, and they get some of the most innocent people. But the fact that she's been clean for the last 6 years and wanting to go in the right direction and has a family that she needs to support, we also agreed that we would give her an opportunity with Westgate if you guys decide to approve her license.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Green for this candidate? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve Ms. Cooper's candidacy by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Torbett. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, Ms. Cooper, the motion passes. Congratulations. We wish you the best. Congratulations on your 6 years of sobriety and recovery. And
Thank you.
we extend our best for you to do well in Tennessee.
Thank you so much.
God bless.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. That was candidate C and candidate D.
Yes, candidate A is not present. Ms. AC, is Brandon going to appear before the commission today?
I was told that he would. I do have a question for the commission. I don't understand why I am coming before the board for an acquisition agent. We don't have anything to do with the acquisition agents. We don't sign their application. They don't do anything with real estate.
Is Brendan Lowe, he has taken and passed the acquisition agent exam, and it's my understanding that you're going to be the broker of record for him. Is that not correct?
They don't usually have a broker.
However, he
They
does.
They usually have director of marketing or somebody sign for them. I've never signed for a single solitary acquisition agent, and I've been doing this 13 years.
So will you not be the broker of record for Mr. Lowe?
I'm the broker at Wyndham Smoky Mountains, but he's not. He's in a different group.
Okay, what we can do is we can take this offline, and I'll have Dennis Lammers follow up with you after the meeting this afternoon.
Okay.
Thank you so much for appearing this morning.
Yeah, I'm sorry he didn't show up. I apologize to the commission, and thank y'all for trying to hear us this morning.
Thank you for appearing. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Any more informal appearances?
No, sir, that concludes all of our informal appearances.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have waiver requests, and before we get into waiver requests, you will hear several waiver requests that are beyond 1 year. We recently received legal guidance in reference to waiver requests that are over 1 year that Anna is going to go over today.
Good morning. As we know, we have a rule that relates to waiver requests, informing us that if an individual license has expired for more than 1 year, then that person is required to retest or reapply. However, when I spoke with our general counsel previously about this, he informed me, so in 6213-319, A, which is this particular portion I'm looking at is on page 42. It talks, sure. 42. 319. So at the beginning of A is on page 41, but the portion I'll be reading is on page 42. So at the very end, this relates to reinstatement after failure to pay renewal or retirement fee. But basically, it's talking about an individual that has failed to comply with any prerequisite or condition to licensure or renewal. Can be reinstated. So at the very end of that paragraph, it states any person desiring reinstatement thereafter must reapply for licensure, provided, however, that the commission may, in its discretion, and then at 1, it provides waive reexamination or additional education requirements for such applicant, or reinstate in a license subject to their compliance with reasonable conditions, including payment of a specific fee. And then it states when fees are remitted to the commission, the date is official postmark on the mail. So even though the rule states that this is 1 year, the statute does state that you have the discretion to look at something beyond that and make a determination whether you would like to waive testing or any additional education requirements.
Thank you for drawing our attention to that. Remind me the general counsel's name.
Michael Driver.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Matlock. Anybody have any questions about that? Steve?
Just one, there's no cap on the years, correct? It's just over 1, so it could be 20 years or
Yeah, so
whatever.
you have your discretion at
Okay.
that point.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else about that, Ms. Matlock or Ms. Baker?
As a practice, we've typically said after 12 months, a candidate must retest and reapply, but there are several extenuating circumstances and that we will present to you today, and they're requesting not to retest and reapply for several candidates that will be presented for waiver request today.
Okay. And the general counsel, Mr. Driver, has drawn our attention to this statute.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
The first waiver request we have today is Richard Bell. Mr. Bell is requesting reinstatement of his license. His license expired March 1st of 2023. His statement and letter from his attorney can be found on your iPads.
Thank you. Does anybody, any commission members have any questions about this waiver request?
His specific statement is on page 4,
Right.
about middle.
Yeah, 4A.
Yes.
What I'm reading here.
Correct.
And I know Mr. Bell is in the audience with us today. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Bell.
Refresh my mind one more time. So when a license is up for renewal, the licensee gets a postcard, correct? In
Yes.
the mail
Yes.
to that licensee and the broker.
It gets sent to the principal broker.
Gets sent to the principal. I'm just doing this for clarification.
Yes,
so I
ma'am.
understand. So it gets sent to the principal broker.
Correct.
And the licensee, if they're not the principal broker, gets one also.
Can you repeat that question?
So if I am an agent,
Correct?
my broker gets a renewal notice, and I get a renewal notice.
The licensee receives the notice.
The licensee receives the notice,
Yes.
but not the broker.
Correct.
And that's only with a postcard, is that correct?
Yes, it's a teal postcard. I don't have one to show
That's
you
okay,
at
I
this
just got
moment.
one in my office for one of our agents, so I'm good. I know what that looks like. So is there any other contact information sent to the licensee?
We send that postcard out 3 months prior
Okay.
to a license expiring,
Okay,
because that's when the application can open within our core system.
all right. Now, one other question. If that licensee receives that card and goes online at that point and renews, is that their new renewal date?
Their renewal date remains the same. So for example, if a licensee were to expire May 1st and you paid on April 1st,
Yes,
it would be 2 years from that May 1st date, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
okay. And should that teal card not be delivered to that address, it comes back here, correct?
Yes, and as of August of last year, or September of 2023, we now notate it in the system if it is returned.
Okay.
Prior to that date, we weren't notating it in the system, but now it is being notated in the system if it
In
is
this particular
returned.
situation, was that card returned?
We weren't notating
Oh,
it
that
at the
was in-
time because
yeah,
it was
because that
March
before.
1st.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith.
Talks about some continuing education that he continued to do. Was there some done during the inactive status?
I did not see a record of continuing education in CE Broker. He's also grandfathered in, so he's had his license in some capacity since,
1993?
yes, yeah, September 3rd, 1993.
So Mr. Bell, excuse me, so Mr. Bell is asking,
Will you turn on your mic, please, Commissioner
I'm sorry.
Smith?
So Mr. Bell is asking for just the reinstatement without testing. Is that correct? Because he doesn't require education.
Correct.
So he's paid the fee, but no retesting.
He has not paid the fee to my knowledge yet, but yes, that's what he's requesting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions by the Commissioner?
Could we walk through the timing really quick? At the bottom of the letter, it says, due to non-delivery of the renewal notice by the U.S. Postal Service or an administrative error by Turnberry Homes LLC, Mr. Bell did not receive a renewal notification in '23. So his license was up in March of '23,
Correct.
and this wasn't discovered due to whatever reason for how long?
We
Like a
received notice
year
in our
and
office.
almost over a year. I mean, a year and a half?
We
Is it-
received notice in our office December of 2024.
So it says Mr. Bell only learned that his license had expired when in the middle of December of '24, he attempted to renew his E&O insurance coverage via the core site. So from March of '23 to December of '24, his license had expired and nothing was happening.
Correct.
Wow. That seems hard to fathom a little bit in that you're talking about non-delivery of a notice when there's communication going on more than just that between TREC and licensees, correct? Or once we sent the notice in March of '23,
He would have received the notice in December or January, so December
Of 23?
22 or January of 23. It's 3 months prior to a license expiring, and his license expired, I believe, March of 2023.
Okay.
So, wait a minute. So March of '23, he supposedly was supposed to have received a renewal notice, correct?
In December of '22 or January of '23.
Okay, all right. So the spring, and there was nothing sent out by TREC between then and the end of '23?
We send out a postcard 120 days prior to a license expiring, or 90 days prior to a license expiring.
Right.
And he did not respond.
Which he didn't get.
According to what the attorney wrote, yes, he did not receive it.
So when you send out a notice and you get no response,
We assume that you no longer want your license.
got it. Okay, that's my
Yes,
my
we
point.
do not follow up.
There's no follow-up. It
Over
just-
and beyond that postcard.
You're just assuming that it's over with. He or she is not going to
Correct.
renew, and even though there's insurance out there, right?
It is my understanding that he received all the E&O notices that we sent out last year, last fall, and that's when he became aware his license was expired.
So, like, for additional context, we have begun a new E&O cycle. So that is when a different notification after the notification from the spring of 2023 went out. So after that notification, after we send information to people, we're not required to send anything additional to them unless, we were to hear from them at that point. Otherwise, it would be nearly impossible to track all of the licensees that we have, over 30-something thousand individuals, to make sure, hey, did you get this? Yes? Or what are you going to do with your license at that point?
So if your insurance extends beyond your license,
Yes.
and
Which happens quite often.
so the insurance companies out there with an insurance policy on somebody that's not technically licensed, and they're okay with that, I
I mean,
guess.
that's up to the insurance carrier
Right.
at that point.
From my understanding, Rice doesn't give insurance, but they also offer a gap service as well. So people still procure insurance even if they're retired, just in case one of their deals goes south and they need coverage from the insurer.
So does Rice, I'm just curious, does Rice know when the expiration dates are on their policyholder?
We give Rice a list of all active agents in the state. And we also send out newsletters to retirees and everyone else within the state as well.
I have a question. Mr. Bell, is he the managing broker of this company? And are there other agents?
Let me double check. One moment, please. I don't believe so, but let me double check, please.
I would just like to point out that if you read this, he has sworn on the soul of his grandchildren that he did not get vacation. That's a deep swear.
While we're looking that up, and given what the letter states here, that there's been no disciplinary or no complaints, and that I'm not expecting for Mr. Bell to have to be before us much in the future, if at all, and he's made the trip here today. Mr. Bell, you don't feel like you have to, but if you would like to, Mr. Bell, to come to the podium and just say hello, good morning, we welcome you to have a moment or two for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. You're welcome to have that before us. Thank you for joining us.
He is not the principal broker of record.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Well, first of all, thank you very, very much for even hearing my case. I've been licensed since the early 90s. I was the broker of record for Turnberry Homes up until about half a dozen years ago, approximately. One of as a matter of fact, my CFO ended up taking over. She earned her license, so we are now working under her broker's license. I would continue to get these E&O requirements, so I would pay the $300 and some odd to Rice Insurance, to maintain that. As recently as just December, my license is under the Williamson County Real Estate. And they said, it's time for you to come in for your ethics class. So I even came in and took my ethics class just a couple of months ago. Again, all thinking that everything was just fine. Actually, it was not actually the E&O insurance that tipped me off, but it actually was Williamson County. Because when they were forwarding to the state the fact that I had passed my ethics class, they said, oh, by the way, we've discovered that your license is lapsed, which begs the question, how the heck is it possible the guy who's been doing this for so many decades could possibly know that? As you know, one of the laws that require that your license actually has to be posted and framed and hung on a wall. I'm semi-retired now, so I no longer go into the office. Had I been there every day, I probably would have looked up at some point to say, oh my gosh, my license is soon going to expire. But that's why I didn't know, because the license is in my office that I no longer attend or go to any longer. So I honestly just didn't know, and I really apologize. And what I'm asking for is if there's a fine or anything that's required of me to have my license reinstated, I'd be glad to do so. I'm a couple of months shy of 70 years old. I don't necessarily want to sit through the classes all over again and so forth if I can avoid it. And I just ask for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Bell?
I guess my concern is, as a managing broker, we're charged with keeping up with our licensees that are in our office and their dates. So I'm concerned why the managing broker didn't catch this. I'm not passing blame, I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, it's a merited question, but thank you. Commissioner Begley?
So after somebody's license expires, there's no more communication from TREC if they don't reach out.
Correct. We assume that you no longer want your license.
Yeah, I understand that. It's the responsibility of the licensee to
It's every 2 years. Tell Siri or Alexa or someone to remind you, I need to renew my license every 2 years.
Any other questions? I'm prepared to entertain a motion for,
I make a motion that we accept.
Commissioner Torbett?
Oh, sorry. I make a motion that we accept his request. I'm trying to figure out, so your request is just reinstatement without the need for testing. You're not asking for a fee waiver, anything like that? Okay, so I make a motion to accept his request to be reinstated without the need for testing.
motion made by Commissioner Torbett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gahn.
I have one more question, can I do that?
Yes.
I have one more question. Mr. Bell has taken classes in the last year or so, is that right, from CE Broker, is that correct? Educate? Yeah, I'm on.
We don't have record of any classes he has taken. He's also was grandfathered in, so he.
Right. I understand the grandfather. I
He
just
said he
wondered-
took a ethics course, but we don't have record of it because he wasn't an active agent at the time.
So it wouldn't attach to his.
Yes, and also
It wouldn't
recall,
attach
ethics
it.
is for NAR. It's not the
Right,
TREC core course,
right.
so it's completely and totally two
Right.
different lanes.
Okay, thank you. It was just information.
Yes, ma'am.
The motion on the table from Commissioner Torbett is to approve Mr. Bell's request for reinstatement without the need for testing. There's a second by Commissioner Gahn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
DJ, could I say one thing?
Yes.
I'd like to shout out to Mr. Bell for coming in person to our meeting. We have a lot of requests that are made from time to time, and it kind of amazes me that people don't come in person, and I really appreciate you coming in person, and it made a difference in my vote, so thank you.
I have one more question. So the fee that's required, then his license are not reinstated until that fee is paid. Is that correct?
Yes, the fee is $1,100.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Just
Also,
wanted Mr.
Commissioner-
Bell to understand.
Commissioner Gwen, I'd just like to clarify that the only individuals required to appear before the commission are individuals for informal appearances. So persons that were requesting waivers are not required to appear before the commission except what they submit in their waiver request.
I understand that. I just
I
think
just
it's,
wanted to
yes, I
make
totally
sure.
understand.
Okay.
I just think it's a good move on people's part to show up in person. That's my opinion.
And I would, well, I don't want to get too off topic, but, you know, as a customer service, I know that it's their responsibility and all that kind of stuff, but in customer service, any business in the world that loses a customer or client, a couple months later is like, hey, sorry to see you go. We miss you. You know, something goofy, but like, sorry to see you go. Wait a minute. Did I quit real estate? You know, so I don't know how easy it is or how many we have expiring, but, you know, 40, you know, 20, like say 2 months after you got this expiring list and you just send a little postcard that said, hey, hate to see you go. If you ever need something, give us a call. I mean, it's just a heads up. It doesn't cost much. And if you gain, you know, some of those back, it may be of value, but that's my opinion. I mean, stuff can get lost in mostly United States Postal Service, it seems at this point. I mean, just my mail and stuff's sporadic, but that's just food for thought. Sorry.
Thank you, Joe. I think that's a good thought to share. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to point out that Commissioner Tucker is now seated at 9:10 a.m. for the rest of the meeting. Next, we have another waiver request for David Taylor. Mr. Taylor is requesting a waiver of fees. His license expired July 17th, 2024. His statement and doctor's note can be found on your iPads.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
Goodness, he's had a rough go of it.
Yeah. Okay, are there any questions about Mr. Taylor's request? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Do I make a motion to accept his request?
Motion by Commissioner Torbett to accept the request. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor? Any questions?
Aye. Are we in favor? Are we doing questions?
Motion on the table to accept Mr. Taylor's request by Commissioner Torbett and a second by Commissioner Smith for that motion to approve his request for a waiver of fees.
And I'm assuming he does not have E&O insurance at this time.
Let me double check. One moment, please. It says his E&O insurance is expired on his form, but let me see. We did this a week ago, so let me double check, please.
Looks like he did all of his education in the fall of '24 after his license expired.
It appears his insurance is still expired. We don't have active E&O insurance for him. Could you repeat that, Commissioner Commissioner Ferris?
I just was making note that he had completed his continuing education in the fall of last year after his license expired. I would say we need to have a friendly amendment to that motion to state that there must be up-to-date E&O prior to.
I make that motion. I make that amendment to the motion that the E&O insurance must be active.
Do we have to second the amendment?
Yeah.
Are we going to second that amendment to?
Thank you, Commissioner Torbett. So the amended motion states that has been properly seconded by Commissioner Torbett is Mr. Taylor's request for a waiver of fees is to be approved with subject to reinstatement of his E&O insurance. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you.
Next, we have Miss Betty Oinks. Ms. Oinks is requesting reinstatement and a waiver to retest. Her license expired April 30th, 2023. Her statement and a letter from Representative Hicks can be found on your iPads.
Am I reading this correctly, that Miss Betty is the managing broker for this real estate company? Is that what I'm reading?
Yes.
And this company has how many agents? I'm
Let
just
me
curious.
look that up. One moment, please.
And am I
I believe
reading?
it was 2, but let me
Okay.
clarify that on the record.
And am I reading correctly that this person does not go into the office? Is that what I'm reading?
That's the way I read her letter.
Okay, thank you.
How many agents are in this office?
I'm looking that up. One moment, please.
That's what I just asked.
One moment. I'm still looking that up.
while you're looking that up, could I, DJ, understand the request, which is her license expired in April of '23, and she's requesting reinstatement of her license, as well as waiving fees, which I guess would be $100 a month for 2 years roughly. Is that what we're looking at?
We are only able to charge up to a year. So the maximum.
So the 100 a month on that in the book is only for the first 12 months?
Correct.
But we have an option, right?
And I can speak more to that.
Or no option
Beyond the 12 months,
on the 100 a month? Yes.
that amount is provided for in statute. So you can't go above that amount.
That's the section you were reading earlier?
Yes, it should be in section 319.
Not more than 100 a month. It says 100 a month or portion of a month from the time the license expired.
Right, so that means like if someone's license has been expired for 15 days past the date, if it just stated a month, then they wouldn't have to pay a fee, right? Because it's 15 days, it's not a month.
Correct. But I'm looking at the number of months beyond it, not
Right, we're capped at a year.
capped at a year?
I guess my concern is, this person is the principal broker for the firm, correct?
Yes, she was the principal broker of record, and we reviewed, it took me a while to review the firm because the firm has submitted an application to close. They did that in January.
Okay,
But she is still requesting her license.
okay. But she was a principal broker when her license expired.
Yes, ma'am, you are correct.
Sorry, did we find out how many agents are in there?
There were approximately 2 agents in the firm when it was closed. Yes. Correct. And once we found out the firm or her license was expired, we sent a 10-day letter for them to name another principal broker or for her to get her license reinstated by retesting and reapplying to become a principal broker. Because it was after the 12-month mark.
I kind of have a hard time with this one. I can't really put my finger on exactly which part bothers me the most. Managing broker bothers me. Not going into the office or checking your records kind of bother me a little bit.
I don't know where that says that, though, about not going in. The letter said she doesn't sell or list anymore.
No, she says. I apologize. I thought she did say that she didn't go in.
Did you say that the firm is closing, Denise?
Yes, they submitted to close the firm in January because they didn't have a principal broker.
So she doesn't really have a job?
Not at that firm.
Okay.
We're not allowed to let a firm remain active. We send a 10-day letter saying, tell us what your plan is moving forward. We can grant a 30-day extension to allow someone to test to become a principal broker, but if they don't reply at all, we close the firm after 10 days.
I mean, I'm very sympathetic here, and I think she's pleaded her case pretty well. I guess my question is, she is counting on the income for being the broker of this firm, but the firm is now closed. So is that a temporary closing? If she gets her license back, is the firm going to open back
That
up?
I do not know. I can't speak to that. I am not certain.
Okay, this is not a recommendation, it's just a question. Can this license be moved down to affiliate instead of a broker? Are we allowed that option?
Yes.
Okay, that's just a question, not a,
Did you ever find how many agents are in that firm?
There are two.
Two.
Yeah, one, her and another licensee. I appreciate the letter she's written here, the email as well, and the letter from Representative Hicks from he and his office. Are there any questions? And if not, Commissioner Begley?
Yeah, I'm going to abstain. I'm friends with her son.
I understand.
I just want to, so she's asking us to waive testing and fees to allow her to remain a principal broker in a firm that doesn't exist anymore? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. But they could reopen the firm. All they would have to do is submit reapplication to reopen the firm.
she could be the broker again, if you give her a license back.
So if they don't reopen again, then she's got a license with no broker, right?
She can go to another.
But she can obviously go to another one.
Yes.
But she wouldn't be going as a principal broker, I wouldn't think.
She could. I mean, once you have your broker's license, you're eligible to be a principal broker of any firm.
Or by yourself.
But she's got to move her license to a firm that has a license. Mm-hmm. And that firm already has a broker affiliate. Yes, sure it does.
I mean, as
Unless
a
she
broker,
starts- yes, to the new firm.
as a
Yes.
broker, you're eligible to be managing broker, principal broker of any firm in Tennessee.
Do we know if the other licensee has moved there?
I am not certain. We can look that up for you.
It's not that pressing, in my opinion. Is there a motion to be presented? May the chair make a motion?
Yes.
I know Jeff probably would not as chairman.
Jeff's not here.
He's not here. John Grease said, we can do whatever we want to do.
I say that all the time. We can do whatever.
I know. Is there any motion?
I'm just very sympathetic thinking of someone that is 88 years old. She said she may have tried to renew it online. I'm leaning towards accepting her request. It seems to me as if it doesn't look like she's going to be selling any real estate anytime soon. So I'm torn about all of this.
I will say the other person in the firm has relocated to a different firm.
I'm concerned about the managing responsibilities of a broker.
I understand we have a whole passage in reference to managing brokers.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's my hesitation.
Mine too. But then I think about, what if this was my grandmother?
You're going to give her the $500 a month.
Exactly. But if she doesn't have a firm, I don't know how she's going to get her $500 a month. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead with whatever motion you were thinking of?
I move to accept Ms.
Onks.
Ms. Onk's request to waive the to waive the retesting requirement
What about the penalty?
and to waive the,
We're talking about how much money.
all right. is it
$1,100.
$1,100. Let me think about that for a moment.
I do think this is funny in her letter that she's 88 years old, and it was really hard to take the test 87 years ago, so she doesn't think she can take it again now.
Maybe she meant, I think she might have meant to type 37 years ago, but yeah.
57.
Or 57,
I'm
something.
trying not to let my heartstrings make a decision that affects our public.
Yes, because if that firm that she was principal broker were to be audited, we would be communicating with her in reference to the firm. The principal broker is who we communicate
Right.
with in reference to the firm.
So I guess that's why I'm not feeling as compassionate as I should. I'm trying not to let my heart rule what my head needs to say. Does that make sense?
I understand.
I'm having a harder time with that.
What, did I hear an open motion?
I think it's a
Yeah,
motion
there
in
was
process.
I'm thinking about what my feeling is on the fee waiver, having just had the previous candidate so eagerly, agree and wishing to pay penance. But I'm trying to, to consider what my thought is for Ms. Onks. She owes $1,100. It's by her own writing, it's indicative that every $100 is important to her. So I'm of the mind to half the $1,100 right now, to propose halving that fee, to have some type of, skin in the game, for lack of better words.
I wonder if she's aware of the fees.
She may not be.
Do you want me to make that motion?
If you'd like to, yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept her request to waive retesting and half the fees, so $5,500. It's $1,100, right?
Yeah,
So
550.
550, excuse me. Okay.
Yeah. I guess we can go from there.
So the motion by Commissioner Torbett is to approve Ms. Onk's request to waive the retest and to pay a fine of $550 for having had her license expire. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tucker. All in favor? Aye. Oh, let's do it. That's right. Any opposed?
Opposed.
So 2, 1, 2, 3,
Joe abstained
Abstain.
4 ayes, 1 abstain.
and 2 noes.
So I believe that motion passes 4 ayes, 2 noes, and 1 abstention.
So could we just make sure in the communication with her that she understands that she had a fee of $1,100
We can communicate that
and
to
it's
her, yes.
been cut in half? Because
Yes.
she hasn't even requested a waiver of the fees. So I'm concerned she's not even aware that there were any fees. And she may choose to just say, forget it.
I understand.
So-
We'll communicate that with her, for sure. Next, we have Michael McCauley. Mr. McCauley license has been expired since August of 2022. In June of 2023, he paid a reinstatement fee of $975. According to Mr. McCauley, in April of 2023, he requested to transfer his license to a new firm. We did not receive that communication about transferring his license to a new firm. His license did not renew when he paid the reinstatement fee in June 2023 because the firm license was expired, and the core system will not renew a license if the firm is expired. His letter and a note from Representative Martin can be found on your iPads.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
I abstain from this one.
Is this correct that there was a letter from January 2nd, 2024, and then January 22nd, 2025? Or was the letter from January 2nd actually from 2025 and not 2024?
One moment, let me verify.
I think it's a typo. 'Cause
I think
it
it's
looks
a,
like they
yeah,
were sent at
it's
the same
definitely a
time.
typo.
Okay.
I went to Mr. Martin's office, Representative Martin's office to speak to him about this, this formal licensee in January of this year. I do believe that's a typo. It's our first day back in the office after the holiday, so it was definitely a typo.
I thought I was the only one that did that. Okay. Thank you.
So I'm still trying to figure out what happened exactly.
Essentially, the transfer paperwork, we never received. And so when he reinstated his license, he paid the fee. However, we did not renew his license because the firm, his original firm that he said he closed in April of 23 was expired. So when he paid the reinstatement fee, we didn't renew his license because the firm was expired. Our core system doesn't flag. So now I have our team manually looking to make sure when we're renewing a license that the firm is also active, so this doesn't happen again.
So 23 or 22?
His license expired 2022, but he paid the reinstatement fee in 2023, about 10 months after his initial license expired in 22.
Did he get reinstated?
He was not reinstated because the firm that he was associated with was expired, and our system does not process a reinstatement license to an expired firm.
Is his current firm?
The firm he wants to go to is open.
Did he own the firm that his license expired?
It's my understanding that it was a family firm.
Okay.
What about the TREC one from his old firm to the new firm? Who signed that?
Okay, so this year I received that form that they said they submitted in 2023. I saw it for the first time this year. We never received it, but the principal broker of the firm signed it and Mr. McCauley signed it as well. But we never received it in-house.
So the TREC one was signed, what was the date on it? Was it a year later than it was supposed to have been, or
I
did they
think
backdate it, or what?
I don't believe it was backdated. I do not believe it was backdated. When I go to properties and check the date, it was dated the date that it should have been dated when he thought he was transferring. We just never received notification of this transfer.
So did the firm transferring him originally expire as what? You said that
Correct.
one expired and basically went away, right?
Yes,
So the TREC one was signed from a firm that didn't exist, is that correct?
Mr. McCauley was the principal broker of that firm, and so he signed the form as well as the
Right.
new principal broker.
But the firm doesn't have a license at that point in time.
It did have a license, yes. But by the time he paid his reinstatement fee, the firm license had expired. So this is the course over about 10 months.
I'm gonna make a motion. Can I make a motion?
Please, yeah.
Or do we need more discussion?
I'm open for a motion if you'd like to make one.
Considering the flow today and 56 years, I'm gonna make a motion to approve this request.
Motion by Commissioner Begley to approve this request. Is there a second?
Second, but I have a question. Is the request for a waiver of fees and waiver of testing?
It appears to be just with a waiver of testing. He's paid a $975 fee. I believe we have returned that fee because we weren't able to reinstate his license.
Okay. Yeah, second.
Motion by Commissioner Begley to approve this. What? Anybody? I thought somebody said something.
Well, I have an amendment about the insurance.
Right. You're welcome to make that, Commissioner Smith.
And we still have the fee. I just learned we still have the fee. We haven't returned it. I think he was waiting on what was going to happen today.
Right.
And this is subject to current E&O insurance.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we can't renew a license without E&O insurance.
You okay with that, Commissioner Begley? Yes. The motion as amended states for this waiver for retesting to be approved contingent on Mr. Macaulay, pardon me, reinstating his E&O insurance and a waiver of the remaining fees due, which is,
We have it,
yeah,
yes.
100 some odd dollars, $200, less than $200. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
One abstained. What was the ayes again? All in favor?
Aye. Steve, you yay or nay?
Any opposed?
Opposed?
One no,
And one abstention.
one abstention, 5 ayes.
All right,
That motion passes. Thank you.
we have two more. Next, we have Mr. Walt Patrick. His license expired April 5th, 2024. He's requesting a medical waiver of his reinstatement fee. His statement and letter from physician can be found on your iPads.
I make a motion to accept this request.
Motion by Commissioner Torbett to accept this request by Mr. Patrick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Quinn. All opposed, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you.
Lastly, with the waiver request, we have Mr. Todd Gash. Mr. Gash's license expired June 20th, 2024. His statement and letter from a physician can be found on the iPads.
Well, in keeping with the theme of the last request, I make a motion to accept this request for a medical waiver.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Torber to accept this waiver request with a second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you all. That completes our waiver request. We amended the agenda earlier today to allow Ms. Christine Campbell, the Senior Claims Specialist for Rice Insurance Services, to present to us. You will find data on your iPads. It's 6B. It's under Rice presentation.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Morning, thank you for having me and for amending the schedule so I can get on the road, given that it's snowing in between here in Louisville where I live. So I'm Christine Campbell. I've been a senior claims specialist with Rice for about 5.5 years. Prior to that, I was a 20-year litigator with a license in Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia. So I appreciate you having me. I do have a presentation to give, but I was wondering if you all would like some clarification about E&O renewals and how that works with whether or not the license was active, given some questions that you had during the waiver discussions.
I'm open to that. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so just to clarify, since E&O policies are claims-made policies, they can still be in effect even if your license is inactive. So the previous policy ran from January 1st, 2023 through January 1st, 2025. So the only thing that's required to purchase coverage through that group policy is to have an active license at the time and pay the premium. So if you pay the full 2-year premium, you're going to have that 2 years of coverage. It cannot be canceled absent some kind of, lying on the application. But it can't be canceled because your license goes inactive. So even though that policy will stay in effect, once the license is inactive, there is an exclusion in the policy where it will not cover any claims arising from a transaction where the licensee had an inactive license. But it will certainly still cover, claims that are made later from transactions that occurred prior to that license being suspended or expiring. So hopefully that clarifies matters a little bit. I know some of the people's licenses expired after January, and that's why they would still have that active E&O policy, even though they didn't have an active license.
Yeah, thank you for that
Sure.
explanation, Christine.
So I'm here to discuss briefly some claim trends and some claim information. So you all have a couple of fun charts on your tablets. I don't know, apologies if any of you all are new to the commission from the last time there was a similar presentation, but Rice has been doing E&O insurance since 1989. They started with the Tennessee program in 1991, which is when Tennessee required mandatory E&O insurance. Rice currently administers the group programs for the insurer Continental Casualty Company in 15 of 15 mandatory insurance states. We also handle the claims in-house, so all of us are in the same office. The people who sell the policies and the people who adjust the claims, we're all there together, and if people call in with questions, they can be transferred to an adjuster to talk about those questions with respect to how the coverage works. So at the end of January 2025, we had 28,415 Tennessee licensees enrolled in the group program. We, of course, are very pleased with that number of licensees that are enrolled, and actually just taught a class yesterday for the TAR seminar, and almost the entire room raised their hand when I asked who had coverage through the group policy. We did discuss at that training, that a lot of people think they'll never get a claim, but in our experience, we've had more than 20,000 real estate claims submitted to Rice since 2003, and over 5,000 of those have been from Tennessee. So it's certainly, the risk is not terribly high, but it's certainly not zero. To date, on behalf of all of the insureds in all of the programs administered by Rice, they've incurred more than $149 million in damages and claim expenses, which are legal fees and costs, on behalf of licensees. And of that, over 25 million has been incurred in Tennessee. So you all have on your tablets a copy of the group policy claims information for the fourth quarter 2024. That's going to have data from 2015 through 2024. So that's going to show how many open and closed claims there are, the total incurred amount for each of those categories. It breaks down some lost payments. Just as a reminder, some of these claims take years to close. So, we do have files that have been open, as far back as 2017 that are still going on in Tennessee. And certainly some get settled, very quickly if liability and loss is clear. As of right now, we can't really tell if amounts are going to stay steady or if it's going to increase or decrease over the years. That's typically something that actuaries do. But we do know that, as time goes on, that data becomes a bit more reliable. And right now, we seem to be on track with similar numbers for 2025. As of February 5th, there were 22 new Tennessee claims reported, and that resulted in 13 files that are still currently open. The open claim count at the end of last year was 245. So that feels a bit on track. And certainly the files that are open are not just claims, but also commission complaint defense and subpoenas, as well as people who report incidents, things that might become claims later that they go ahead and report early. You'll probably notice, as is typical in the E&O world, Continental spends a lot more on legal fees than they do paying out damages. Most of the benefit that licensees get from their E&O insurance isn't actually the payment of claims, it's the defense of frivolous and meritless claims, which in my personal experience, we see a lot of. These loss reports, they're not going to include any incurred but not reported figures or loss development figures or administrative costs that are typically used by actuaries. These are just the plain numbers of what's paid out for damages and legal fees and costs. So for Tennessee, from January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2024, for closed claims, the amounts paid total $12,813,587.91. For claims that remain open, we have reserved $4.7 million. And the total incurred for the 3,787 open and closed claims just in Tennessee since 2015 is $524,739.63. So a lot for very small premiums, and I still haven't figured out how Continental makes any money doing this, but apparently they're able to do that somewhere. But I think these figures, I mean, they're large and it's still early in the morning. But it really shows how important this program is for the Tennessee licensees and for the Tennessee public, to make sure that there is something out there to protect from the occasions when the licensees, being human, are going to be negligent, but also to protect your licensees from people who are, unhappy with what happened in a real estate transaction and they're trying to find somebody with a pocket so that they can get some money. So those figures also show how important it is when you're looking for insurance to find out how much is that insurer really paying. I do hear from competitors or people who have been with competitors, and I say, you need to report it. And they say, I don't want to report it. They'll cancel me. And, for the life of me, I don't see the benefit that you get from insurance that you won't report a claim to. Why do you care if they'll cancel you? You're not using it. This group policy you can use. The licensees can't be denied the coverage so long as they have the active license and they pay the premium. They can't be canceled because of their claim history, and there's no individual underwriting to them, so they're going to pay the same amount regardless. So it's a really good program. And as you'll see, we get a broad spectrum of claims at Rice that are defended. So you all do have some reports of the different types of claims that we get. About 40% are lawsuits. And another 38% they're not lawsuits, but they're either demand letters that might become lawsuits later, or notice of a potential claim where someone contacts us and says, I've been threatened, somebody's threatening to sue me. They can go ahead and report those. And oftentimes those will turn into some kind of a demand or a lawsuit. Approximately, can't read my own handwriting, 1.3% of our files are commission complaints to the Real Estate Commission that there is a defense supplementary payment for. About 2% are a complaint to the Real Estate Commission coupled with a separate demand for money. And then we do also provide some limited supplemental payments for people to respond to subpoenas if they're asked for documents or testimony. Most of the claims we handle are brought by buyers. That's probably not surprising. It's about 56%. But there are also people who don't precisely fit into the categories that we've pre-designated. So that figure could actually be higher if you include not just actual buyers, but potential buyers. About 16% are brought by sellers. Oftentimes those claims relate to not getting as much money for their property as they wanted, or otherwise doing something that causes a transaction to terminate. Most of our buyer claims are seller non-disclosure that then morph into, and also the licensee didn't disclose it as well, oftentimes without proof. So there are those frivolous claims that we talked about that get defended. On the selling side, we see a lot of, failure to recommend inspections. After the home inspection, maybe a roofer should have been consulted, but there wasn't a recommendation. And then we do see quite a few, dates that get missed. So maybe the termination's a day late and somebody is, losing their earnest money or something because of that. Most of the claims that we handle, it says 59%, I think that's a little low, arise out of sales transactions of real estate sales. About 7% are property management claims, and another 14% involve a contract. That normally means a listing agreement or a buyer agency agreement on a deal that didn't go all the way through to closing. We do often get files related to leases. Property management has risks on both sides, so we do tend to see probably higher than you would think numbers of property management claims just because they have double exposure. We also get an occasional appraisal claim, an occasional HOA management claim, but the largest majority are going to come from those real estate sales transactions, most of which, 70%-ish, residential property. Then we also have the ones that arise out of managed property, so any kind of a property management agreement. The next one down is actually vacant land, and we have seen an increase in, they're not covered, but vacant land transactions where the purported seller isn't really the seller. It's a scammer who's trying to pretend like they own that property. Those do fall into an exclusion under the group policy for conversion and third-party deception. But we are seeing an uptick, especially for unencumbered vacant land, where there isn't really a whole lot out there to double check and make sure that that's really the right person. And the people usually are out of state or say they're out of state, and everything's done electronically and remotely without any people meeting face to face. And so we have seen an uptick in those types of claims. I'm sorry.
I'll just thank you. I'm going to interrupt you there for a moment because that's a case that that happened last week to a colleague.
Oh, no.
It was actually a friend of mine's property, and he spoke to me end of the year about listing it this year, a lot here in Nashville. And I followed up with him, and he called me back and said, hey, actually, I'm working through a fraud case right now because a scammer had called another broker here in town, and they began working through it, put it on the market, and had it listed Fortunately, it did not, she started getting suspicious and, threw the flag on the field, so to speak. So I mean, what you're saying is if that licensee had gone forward with it and a scammer sold the property that's unencumbered, an unencumbered lot, that they would be liable and E&O would not cover them.
Yes, it does fall into that exclusion for, it's a very broad exclusion for every possible permutation of theft, including embezzlement, defalcation, conversion of both money and property, but also third-party deception, which is independently defined in the policy. But that's going to involve any kind of, someone taking property by pretending to be someone else or spoofing an email. Wire fraud similarly not covered for those same reasons.
I mean, do y'all have any recommendations that y'all have put out for licensees as a precautionary measure?
Typically, we always recommend to licensees, whether it's put out anywhere, that I can't actually speak to.
Right.
But I know when I personally speak with licensees and when I give classes, we always encourage people to have some kind of a general liability policy. Oftentimes, those policies will have exceptions for professional services, but a lot of times the allegation isn't actually a real estate professional service. If you think about, email security, you don't need a real estate license to have good email security. And good email security is not limited to a real estate business. All businesses should have it. So even though it involves a real estate licensee and the general liability carrier might try to get out from under the claim by saying, no, that's professional services, it really isn't. And so generally things like wire fraud coverage or coverage for some kind of third party, someone who's not in-house committing some kind of deception and getting money, those are typically going to fall under some kind of a general liability policy. So as of right now, Continental does not offer any kind of endorsement that would deal with that. And truthfully, I don't know that will change. Certainly for the premium price, I wouldn't expect that to change anytime in the near future. But speaking of that price, it really is a very affordable policy for the amount of insurance that the licensees get. I mean, it's $100,000 per claim. It's $300,000 for all claims in 1 year. And a lot of people, when you have a claim history, you just simply can't get insurance, or you'll have a carrier who will cancel you because you had a claim. And so, it is excellent that Tennessee licensees do have the benefits, of this group program. And certainly we're pleased to be a part of that and to partner with the Real Estate Commission and Continental Casualty Company to bring that to the licensees. So as far as any trends go, other than the vacant land sale fraud that we see, I don't know if it's really a trend, but we do tend to see a lot in Tennessee allegations where the septic permit doesn't match the number of bedrooms. That is a very much recurring, literally, it's crazy how often you see that. And, that's probably one of our biggest ones. Square footage discrepancies are also kind of similar because in some areas, the definition of bedroom might be a little vague or amorphous. So we get those disputes about people who, just can't agree that that's a bedroom or not. So that's probably the ones that we see the most. And then the termite damage. I think you guys have it worse than we do in Kentucky with termites. I actually have an open claim right now where the inspector came at the buyer's request and his comment was, "Oh, you bought the termite house," which obviously did not bode well, and that claim is still going. So those are things that we see more in Tennessee than elsewhere, but generally, most of our claims are always going to be seller non-disclosure and then alleged real estate licensing non-disclosure.
Do any of you all have questions or comments for Rice Insurance? Yes, Commissioner.
Quick question. Sure. Once a licensee has a claim, do the rates go up on that person, or they stay the same, or how many?
She answered.
Well, she had not specifically. She just said it was a group policy, but she didn't say anything
Sure.
about,
So
I mean, do you
the-
continually, if a person has a claim year after year, do you continually renew them?
Yes, the group policy is guaranteed issue. There's no named insured in the group policy. It's issued to the Real Estate Commission. And the only requirement for a licensee to purchase it is to have an active license and to pay the premium. As long as they do that, everybody pays the same premium. Those premiums are set as a function of statute and regulation. And so if they go up, they're going to go up for everybody who buys the policy and not based on an individual's claim history.
Okay.
Thank you for your question. Are there any other questions?
She's telling my time is up.
Not specifically, but maybe.
It's fine. I talked for 2 hours yesterday.
Oh, no, you're fine. Are
Great.
there any other questions for Rice Insurance?
Thank you for coming.
Ms.
Yeah,
Campbell, thank
for
you so
being
much
here.
for presenting to the commission this
Thank you.
morning. We are going to start doing this yearly, so we will see
Great.
you sometime next year.
You will. I appreciate you having me, and since my business is concluded, if I may be excused to start the drive back, I would appreciate it.
Yeah,
course.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Christine. Safe travels.
Next, we will move on to the Director of Education report.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am excited to be here and give you my first education report. On the first page of the education report, you will see the exam pass-fail rates for all of 2024. And then following that will be December 2024's numbers and then January's. This is slightly different than the previous reports where this was included on the Executive Director's report. However, Director Baker and I thought it would be better suited for the education report moving forward.
Thank you.
Next, these are the new courses for your consideration and approval. All courses listed have met the requirements of TREC Rule 1260-05-.03. As you can see, we have added back the course listing numbers starting with the letter F notating the month of February and then the number. We have a total of 48 courses for you to approve today.
Thank you, Ms. Morse. Do any of the commissioners have questions or would like to pull any of these 48 courses? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Smith to approve the F1 through F48 courses, second by Commissioner Torbett. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Those 48 courses are now approved. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
So should we change the order and approve the new,
Instructor.
what do you want to call these?
Instructor.
Instructors before we approve the courses? Because if we didn't approve
Yes.
some of the should we improve the instructors first and then
We
the
can
courses
change the order
probably?
for April for sure.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll be more than happy to make that change.
I'm going
for
to call
April.
John Grease and ask him why he did not see that. After being 10 years on this esteemed commission.
I did it in 5.
Joe did it in 5. That's just, you know,
It's awesome.
that's great. Yeah. Thank you.
Lastly, for your consideration, these are the individuals who are seeking a TREC instructor's license. The individuals listed have met the requirements of TREC Rule 1260-05-.04. You will see we have made some changes to this report and have also labeled each individual with the letters FI to signify February instructors and then a number. We have a total of 26 individuals for you to approve today.
I don't think we should approve Anna.
I was going to ask, as a fellow commissioner, Commissioner Torbett, if there were any questions about FI 24 or FI 25, but
Or 26.
I don't know enough about F26 yet to weigh any opposition.
I make a motion, we approve these.
Motion by Commissioner Smith to approve candidates FI.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Torbett. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you all. There is, I believe, one more point that Brittany will make.
I would also like to address to the commission an issue that arose in the new year with CE Broker. This being our first renewal cycle with CE Broker, there was an issue that prevented courses from being renewed in CE Broker appropriately, which then prevented providers from reporting credits to licensees who took their courses in the new year. For simplicity, the issue is just boiled down to data from our system was not being relayed to CE Broker system correctly, and it just wasn't compatible. But with a collaboration between their team and ours, we were able to remedy this issue, and it should not be an issue for future renewal cycles.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's good to hear.
And if there is no questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Any questions? No. Okay, Ms. Baker?
We are taking a departure from the typical executive director's report. We have Toby. And Toby, I can never pronounce your last name. I am so sorry, but he is Vice President of Real Estate Education at Kaplan North America. Kaplan North America is the provider of our high school education program, and he'll be presenting today in reference to that program.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Mr. Shifsky?
First try. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Well done.
Thank you for
Yeah,
being
Shifsky.
here. Appreciate your patience and wading through some of that. And you had a little education perhaps of your own of Tennessee license renewals and waivers and so forth. So thank you for your work here. I'm looking forward to hearing how this program's going. I think it's a really great initiative, and I hope it's good for you guys as well as it is for citizens of the state.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I am a card-carrying member. I've been licensed as a real estate salesperson, broker, really, since 1991. So I'm all in on real estate, and I appreciate what you guys do here. Sitting here this morning reminds me there's a lot of work that's kind of unsung that this group does, and I know that happens in many states, but well done. And I appreciate being here. Working with Denise and Dennis, Brittany, we are excited about this program. I should just tell you flat out. And if you're not, I think everybody here is probably familiar with it, but I'm going to go kind of quick. This is a one-of-a-kind program. We do education across the entire country, Kaplan. And I can tell you, I don't know of another high school program like this. And so we're all in as a partner. And you can talk to Denise and Brittany and Dennis, and they'll tell you how all in we are. As far as profitable, it's not profitable, but not yet. I think it might be in the end, but right now it's really about kind of the mission. And we're figuring it out. Once again, nobody's done anything like this. Nobody's given high school kids licensing education. A lot of them do, in-class education. A lot of them do online education, live online education as a part of their, but not any of them are really cranked through a 60-hour course online and a 30-hour course. And these courses are really, we have colleges across the country that offer these as college courses. So it's not a simple thing. And all of you here have gotten licensed. At some point, you've probably sat in courses. I don't know how many of you have actually sat in an online course, but it is a challenge. And so what I'm here to talk to you about today is kind of where we're at and then where we want to go and how we're going to continue to change this program, because our goal is to make sure it's successful. And not only do, hundreds of kids get the opportunity to learn about real estate, your rights and interests in land, and really as a wealth, a generational wealth vehicle, what do you really get when you buy real estate? Once again, at Kaplan, we believe everybody should have a basic understanding of real estate, even to the point that we would love to have this as an elective course within a high school, as content for high school courses. But this program here specifically is for those students who are looking for real estate to be a solution for them as a career, kind of this workforce readiness. And let's go through the slides. We'll just kind of jump in. At any time, ask me questions. What am I doing? for me? I got like 3 slides, so it won't be a little long, but, and you guys, I think, have had a chance to take a look at this. Here's kind of the numbers. 192 total students enrolled. And when we started this program, we started with 6 months access. So students had 6 months to get through the program. And I can tell you this is not atypical, and I'm going to kind of cover some of these numbers for you to let you know that the completion rates here look pretty low. At the 60-hour course, we have 35 students have completed out of 192. I can tell you, there's about 6 students that never even opened a single course. Remember, they don't pay for it. And so they get it, and they jump in, or they don't jump in. What I can tell you is we had 35 people complete. We had another 7 people that did more than 30 hours, but less than 45. We had 6 that did about just under 30, or just over 30, but not 45, sorry. And 138 of the people did less than 30 hours in the course. 6 just dropped. They're like, never even touched it. And just so we're all clear, in Kaplan, we're invested in this program, and we're invested in kids getting through it, right? So this is another unique part of this program, which is we don't get paid unless they get at least halfway through a course. And that's how the breakdown is. And I think you guys are familiar with how that is, but this program pays us for completions, for success, which lines up with who we are as an organization. So if you look at that, we got 35 people completed out of 192. You're looking at about an 18% completion rate in that course. It's pretty low. Generally, we're looking for anywhere from 40% to like 68% across the country for licensing courses. The longer the licensing course, the lower the completion rate. So as a 60-hour course, that's one of the longer licensing courses. The only longer courses I know are 75-hour licensing courses. We generally see the lower end of completion rates, especially for asynchronous online courses. And that's for any number of reasons. One, it's a long slog. It needs a lot of support. 2, life gets in the way. You know, it takes a fair amount of time to go through that, and lots of things come up that are more important. Things change. People say so. Completion rates are anywhere from about 40 to 68% across the country when people pay for the course, and that's generally a full adult, population. We do have data for people who don't pay for the course across the country. We have really thousands of enrollments, tens of thousands of enrollments a year for people who don't pay for the course. And I can tell you, when they don't pay for the course, the completion rates drop about in half. So as a 60-hour course, we'd be looking at somewhere between a 40 and 50% completion rate for those who pay. For those who don't, we're looking at about a 20 to 25% completion rate. It's just not the same skin in the game, so to say. And so here, we're sitting at about an 18.5% completion rate. It's not completely out of the realm. The good news is, of those 35 who completed, they go on. And we had another 22 completed the 30-hour course. So they start with the 60. And so once again, the completion rate from those who completed the first course really kind of fall in line with national norms. That's like a 65% completion rate. It's a 30-hour course, so that kind of falls in line with people who paid for it. They're invested at that point. Because what happens is, if they're not investing in the front side with money, you get them to invest with time, and then now they're invested. So this data is here. You guys can take a look at it. Very clear. But maybe we go on to the next page, because then I think what we talk about is what we want to do to improve. Once again, nobody's done a program like this. These guys have been great partners, helping us figure out how to get as many kids to be successful using it. And so, we want to see more students complete. We also want to see students who want to do the work. And this is a part of making sure we give the opportunity to those students who really want to do the work. And I think where one of the things we're going to ask to change is be able to, if somebody doesn't want the opportunity, to assign that opportunity to a new kid. Somebody else will come in. Because at some point, there is a bit about numbers to get people through who are going to engage and they're going to invest. And so that's a part of what we're looking at doing. And then we want to see more students become licensed. We had 3 of the students become fully licensed out of all of that. I think we can do a lot better than that as we go forward. So I'm going to talk about, we want the program to be successful, we want to impart, and then also there's one other part we can't really measure by somebody getting licensed. Because I can tell you this, not everybody who finishes our education goes on to get licensed. Some of you I know run brokerages, you know, things change, things get in the way. And so for us, our goal is to get as many of these kids the kind of opportunity they want in a career in real estate. But at a minimum, we're going to help them with their foundational understanding of real estate and the real estate business and the rights and interests they have in it. And that knowledge will go with these kids their entire life. And it will change their behavior through their life, through that knowledge. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask that one of the things that we've done to immediately kind of impact the experience for students, because we've asked the students for some feedback, and you can see some of the feedback here. And some of them are like, gosh, you know what, I need a study plan. And so what we've done is we've created an entire syllabus just for the Tennessee high school students, just so that they can follow a syllabus that kind of guides them through how to work these studies. We're going to keep offering refreshers every few units to help people remind them of their courses and topics. In other words, we are going to be offering live online sessions just for the Tennessee high school students. You should know the way the education is delivered is it's an asynchronous online course. And believe me, we have some brain wizards, some really smart kids who'll come in and they can blaze through the whole thing, and they never even have to talk to us. They're that good. The courses are engineered that way and set up. But there's a lot of kids and adults who get stuck. They might read something 3-4 times or watch a video 3 times. They don't understand it. And so in order to support that, because it's really all about these little roadblocks and removing roadblocks, we've created a calendar of live online supplemental education sessions for all students to join, including our Tennessee high school students. They can join the sessions live online. We got, in fact, can you go to the 4th slide? Is there a 4th slide? No, one more, sorry. Is there one more? Oh, it didn't get in there. Okay, well, back up. Well, I can tell you, and I can send it out to you. So here's these changes we're doing. We've created the new syllabus. We have just, and so the live online sessions, if I can just finish this part. With the live online sessions, the students can come in, and they're set sessions, and we give them a calendar with all the dates and times that the instructors are available. We have nighttime, we have weekend, we even have daytime. Classes that they can jump in, they're topic driven, and they can ask all their questions so that nobody gets stopped from getting the education that they need. And that's every day of the week, access. Not to mention we do a live online exam prep session on the weekends, every other weekend that they can join. We are now offering and going to be adding a Tennessee-specific high school specific session just for the high school students once a month to cover all the questions that they have about, so this is in addition to everything we're doing. We'll be offering that to the Tennessee high school students so they can ask all their questions, and we have a specific instructor that can handle their questions, understand that they're high school students, and then make sure we eliminate any of those roadblocks for those students. So I've covered 2 things that we're going to do. The other one, and I think has some consideration behind it, is to adjust the enrollment period for these students from 6 months to a shorter time frame. What we find is the students who complete quicker. The longer they get, the longer and the less urgency we tend to find in the students. And the idea is making sure that, once again, I talked about it earlier, those students who don't want to move on, we can reassign that enrollment opportunity to students who do, because the last time we had a waiting list of students, if I'm right, Denise, right? We had a waiting list of students to get into this program. People who wanted to do it, but we had given a 6-month enrollment and we couldn't pull it back from students. And so, and once again, the state, the program is paying for the way they complete, how much completion they do. So for those who've abandoned, we're asking that we can reassign it. We would shorten that 6-month period to 100 days. 100 days of access. And then also include some milestones. So how do we give measured milestones to make sure people know they have targets that they have to reach, so that we can identify the students who are going to move on and the students who aren't going to move on sooner, and reassign that opportunity to somebody else. So milestone number 1, which we didn't have before, was they have to watch this Kaplan commitment video, which is really a 20-minute video that demonstrates everything that they get in their course. All the assets, all the live online sessions, all the ability to connect with somebody about their course, their education, how to use all the tools. We also use that because at Kaplan, we offer a commitment, which is if you fail your state licensing exam and you've done the video and you've hit the commitment marks, you don't have to pay for any extensions, and you get a one-on-one tutoring session with an instructor. All these students qualify for the Kaplan commitment, no matter how long they're in the course, as long as they watch the video and they do the steps they need to do. So it's if they do that within the first 14 days, they've passed the first milestone. If they don't engage within the first 14 days, we move them out and we move somebody else in. And then milestone 2, they have to complete, right? Units 1 to 13, or 30 hours of seat time in the first course, the principal's course, within 60 days. If they don't do that, we find they don't complete, they don't finish. And so our goal is to, once again, give them some deadlines, give them some dates, give them a study calendar and the syllabus, give them an opportunity to talk to the instructors every day of the week. Literally, they can jump into a live online session every single day of the week and ask their questions and be taken care of, right? We have dedicated staff that reaches out to these guys as a part of our agreement. Every month, we're already calling and talking to students to try to get them the help and support that they need. But so we have dedicated staff. And once again, Kaplan's committed to this. We're super excited about getting a program like this off the ground, about getting this kind of education to high school students. And so how else can we incentivize them? Kaplan's, on our dime, we want to give them their first renewal continuing education for free. All of those who complete as another kind of golden apple at the end of their educational experience. We charge like $100 or $109 or something like that. They would be assigned a credit for that education, free, out of the box, nothing else. Once again, we don't know exactly what the perfect program is. We do know we've had dozens of students complete it. We do know that the education is solid, and you have a willing and active partner here at Kaplan to get this even more successful than where we're at today. And we're behind it. And we want to cheer them on and congratulate them when they win. And so that's really why I'm here, and I flew in from Minnesota. And this wet weather I would love to have instead of the snow I left in Minnesota.
Thank you, Toby. Thanks for that information. That's really, really thorough. I really appreciate hearing the recap of it to date. I had a thought about my own experience of getting licensed when I was, I believe I was 20. And the course to a fellow like myself, it was Greek. It was, I was very literal, and so it was just hard. Some of it was just Greek to me. And so I can empathize with an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, 19-year-old. And I remember asking questions to people who worked in real estate, like, what does this mean? And I would reach out, or I would talk to my folks, or what is it? I can't remember any specific instances, but the thought that kind of occurred to me was, is there a way, or how cumbersome would it be if Kaplan worked with members in the real estate community, licensee holders, who could get paired with a student or two students in a nearby community, pay something to Kaplan to get some CE for it, but to be for their own license, but to be kind of a mentor, advisor type role. Maybe that's already in place.
Toby, if you don't mind, we have reached out to different associations that could help us facilitate something of that nature, and it was not well received.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Pardon me. And that's ridiculous. I don't understand why that's not well received. Did not anticipate didn't anticipate that response.
This is our first year. This is our baseline.
Right.
We threw everything at the wall to see what would happen. So I think through this first year, we've created a baseline. The changes that we've made over the past 6 weeks came from feedback that we received from those that didn't complete the portions of the training, that did complete portions of the training, and who completed all of it. So we wanted feedback from everyone who was involved. We really think working our waiting list in a manner in which we did not do effectively enough last year will help. And by creating these benchmarks within the program, getting so far or you'll roll off, will help us facilitate getting students through the program.
Yeah.
And at day 101, and they've completed 88 hours, we're not going to say, no,
Right.
you're out of luck.
Right.
We're going to work with those few to
Sure.
help get them through the finish line. But they have to meet these certain benchmarks at some point in time in order for it to have the maximum impact.
Yeah, the milestone idea sounds great. That's really, the data supports that with whether you're a high schooler or an adult. Yeah, and to be fair too, some of the, with anything, some people will go through a licensing course and decide not to get their license, or
I have a friend that did that. It happens.
Exactly.
It
I
happens,
have
for
a
sure.
relative who was that experience. So some of this 192 maybe got into it 20 hours, 10 hours, and we're like, this is not what I thought it was. I'm not interested. So that's okay. But I think it's something to, I think that's something that realtor associations across the state need to look at themselves and think about. You got a lot to do. Don't get me wrong. You got families, you got communities, you got other things, but we're talking about 190 young people here in the state, and for that not to be well received, it's not the responsibility of the associations by any stretch. They're missing out on an opportunity, I think, to be a part of something special. But hopefully these young people can find the resources. And so I want to applaud Kaplan for making these online things available, the study guide, the instructors. That's awesome, and we'll have some good results downstream. I hope that the associations and the members can partner with that.
Yeah. I love where your head is. There's no doubt. Starting fresh in real estate is tough. I know there's several licensees in the room here who can tell you it's tough. Having a mentorship, being on a team is a great way, especially for youth, to be able to become an active participant in the field and interest of real estate. And we haven't gotten there yet, but because we wanted to make sure we had the program rolling. But the answer may be in participating brokerages who want to step up and be a part of a program to assist, not so much the association, but an actual brokerage with.
Right. Yeah, I think that'd be where I would naturally turn to. Is like forget the associations if they don't feel like they want to be a part of that. With all due respect, okay. Then the license. I know a lot of good people who have real estate license who are brokers and who are practitioners who will help.
Yeah.
So.
We're definitely going to take the proactive approach for this year, and hope to have some data for you sometime during the August meeting.
Yep.
As to what we've done and where we're going and what those numbers are. So Toby, I want to thank you so much for coming all the way down from Minnesota to present to the Tennessee Real Estate Commission today. I really do appreciate that. Does anyone else have any other questions? Yes.
Quick question. Do you have a sense as to what kind of aptitude the students that come in that are in high school, do they, or like say for example, good math students more likely to succeed versus not, or is it basically just a good student you're looking for? Or?
I think I should answer that question. It runs the gamut. We talked to many parents last year that demanded their child get in. We've had a lot of those that the child or the student may not have been actively wanting to do it, but it was an avenue that their parents requested. So by creating these benchmarks within the program, it's creating buy-in for the student to meet certain benchmarks, and if not, we can select another student that would be more inclined to finish the program.
So it's more being pushed by the parents than,
We probably 20 to 30% of parents emailed us and just said, please let my child in. This is their information.
interesting.
Pretty please.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, to your question, students go through a lot of education to pass a test. We're really good at getting people by the test. We're really good with our licensing education, exam prep. And we keep people from doing it wrong, right? Stay out of an orange jumpsuit when you come out of licensing. The business of real estate may not be graded in a test of how good you're going to be in real estate. You may be a wizard at math, but you may not be so good with people. So ultimately, if you're going to do well in the real estate industry, you generally got to do well with people, one way or another. And the commercial aspect, there's math, probably more so than on the residential, side. But really, it really comes down to the individual about them being a student. It has to grip them and engage them. It's all voluntary, right? Especially in this situation. There's a low threshold for entry because they don't pay for it. So getting them excited and active about the career in real estate. There's one last thing I just mentioned. I know you got to move on, but we also do one night a week a career mentor night where they get to go and listen to the day in the life of a real active professional, where they can say, what can I do with my real estate license? Because it's more than just selling residential real estate. There's lease and property management and all those kind of things. And so we have people come in and talk about the profession where they can ask the questions. Because there is one thing, the more excited they are about a career in real estate, the more likely they are to complete the education, plain and simple. So we do take on some of that charge, but there is a role for everybody in that charge with these students, about a career in real estate, being excited. It's generally the best indicator about somebody going to make it through, truly.
Thank you so much for your comments. Are there any other questions from commission members? Thank you again for making the journey to Tennessee. I'm sorry the weather wasn't nice for you. All right, I have just two very, very brief announcements. The first announcement is there is a TREC panel discussion today at 2 o'clock at the Tennessee Realtors Excel Summit. I just want to get a head count on who will be in attendance this afternoon. Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Gahn, Commissioner Ferris. So let's say three commissioners for sure. Commissioner Tucker, are you? Okay, very good. The second announcement I have on March 12th at noon, Middle Tennessee Association of Realtors wants TREC to participate in a panel discussion in Murfreesboro. Is anyone available to? Middle Tennessee Association of Realtors in Murfreesboro, March 12th at noon, they want TREC to participate in a panel discussion for agents in Murfreesboro. Is anyone available March 12th at noon? Anna and myself will be there. They're having a panel discussion. They're having an event that is from 11 to 4, and they want TREC to participate in a panel during noon on the 12th.
Do they have a specific goal or something that they've been addressing with you guys that they're wanting?
No, it's a panel discussion much like what we're doing this afternoon. Okay.
Yeah, I think I will.
Okay, perfect. Oh, thank you so much. So for this afternoon, I have Commissioner Smith, Ferris, and Gahn, and then for March 12th, I have Commissioner Smith, Tucker, and Gahn as well. Is that correct? If there are no other questions, that concludes my report, and I can move on to public comment. Okay. The department encourages public comment in open meetings through various avenues and welcomes healthy debate and the expression of diverse opinion. If you have a public comment, please tap your name in the chat. And if anyone in the room has public comment, we will hear you at this time. All right, that closes the public comment period. Commissioner Ferris, would you like to go to recess for a moment?
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Yes, it's 10:39. Let's recess till 10 to 11.
Yes, we'll come back at 10:50 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ferris, are you ready to get started?
Thank you, Ms. Baker. We are ready.
Next, we have a legislative update. We added it to the agenda, and then we'll go into the legal report.
Good morning. Look, it's a smile right there, see? Okay, so I would like to provide a legislative update for a few of the bills that have been filed this session that will, I believe, directly impact the commission. So for the first bill is HB 0700/SB 0886. And that bill is a bill from Tennessee Realtors, and it is making amendments to the continuing education requirements for certain grandfathered principal brokers. So if you were licensed before January 2005, you are, and as a broker, you are not required to complete continuing education. So this bill is going to remove principal brokers that were grandfathered, that supervise affiliate brokers from that requirement. So if you're a principal broker and you supervise affiliates, you will have to do continuing education moving forward. So
You're saying you're removing the grandfather part.
yeah, turn your microphone on. Yes, see.
You're going to remove the grandfathered portion if you are managing affiliates.
Yes, so if you are a principal broker and you don't have any affiliates, so you're just working by yourself, we have a lot of people that do solo firms, you're not required to do continuing education.
And if I'm a grandfathered broker working under another managing broker, then I don't have to do any education.
Correct.
It's, yeah.
Yes, yes. So it's only those, it only applies to those that are grandfathered. So if you're a broker after January 1st, 2005, you still have to do CE whether you have affiliate brokers or not.
And lastly,
Yes.
do you think we should add like a little interim period where if you have a situation where something happens to a broker and you need a broker for 6 months or something, I'm not gonna fill that spot for them if I have to go take to, back, retroactively take some classes or whatever. So, you've got somebody to fill in, you know what I'm saying?
It would
Like a
only be
little-
due when your license is renewed at that time.
Okay.
So it's not going to be something that you have to essentially backfill. It would just be whenever, if you are grandfathered and you decide to become a principal broker at that time, you will then be required to take CE while you supervise affiliates.
And
If
that's-
you,
At renewal period.
at the renewal period,
And
so
that's
it'll
how-
be
And
regular.
that would be 16 hours?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Is that in there?
Is that in where?
And what's being discussed, I know it's saying continuing education, but is it saying,
It doesn't say the specific 16 hours, but it is to the portion of the statute that does address continuing
so
education.
it would back? It would
Yes,
refer back, so it would be obvious that it's 16 hours, not less, but a
Correct.
minimum of, is that
yes,
correct?
yes.
He's smarter than he looks. He don't talk much.
Oh, of course, for all of these moving forward, this is how the bill is presented to us at this moment. The bill filing deadline was last week, but there are, of course, we have time for amendment, so things can change and things cannot pass. So this is just things that have been filed with no amendment so far. Yes.
If it goes forward, it would be effective in
This one becomes effective, I believe, upon becoming law, but let me double check real quick. Give me 1 second. Yes, so whenever the governor signs the bill, it would become effective. Which could be, depending on if it passes, March, April, May. Okay, the next bill is SB 0909 and HB 0781. and this bill relates to wholesaling. So in this bill, it defines equitable interest as the right of a buyer to benefit or profit from real property after the buyer has entered a contract for the purchase or sale of real property with the seller, but before legal title has been transferred from the seller to the buyer. So it's generally, what we believe wholesaling to be is when you're entering into a contract and you sell your interest before you have transferred the title. So the bill specifically states that a buyer who enters into a contract with the seller and engages in wholesaling of the property, and when the buyer, after entering the contract with the seller, assigns their interest. So if you're doing wholesaling, then assigns their interest in real property to a subsequent purchaser for a higher price than the buyer has paid for real property. So that's what it defines wholesaling as. So if you are wholesaling, this is permitted if a buyer discloses in writing what their equitable interest is to a potential signee, and notifies the seller of the intention of wholesaling the property within 3 days of the assignment. So essentially, this would permit wholesaling with certain written disclosures to the individuals involved in the transaction.
Without the wholesaler having a license.
Correct.
So you have to inform the seller. Can the seller stop the transaction?
It doesn't say anything about the seller I'm stopping the transaction. I guess that would be a contractual issue, but you are required to inform them in writing that you are doing that, and it has to be 3 days before the assignment occurs. So essentially what my understanding is this would permit wholesaling, which would be it would be different from our interpretation of wholesaling, that if you do not have that ownership interest, you would be required to use a licensee, but it doesn't appear to be the case in this bill.
So our Tennessee purchase and sale agreement historically has, in the first paragraph, it says buyer to be or assignee. They have taken it out? Okay. I haven't done any transactions lately, sorry.
Well, so that is that bill there. I understand, I believe that one is also a Tennessee Realtors bill. Any other questions for that one? I feel what the commission feels.
I was trying to ask your legal opinion.
I mean, my legal opinion is that it would change how the commission interprets wholesaling. So I don't think we would, at this point, based upon my interpretation of the statute, unless I've read it incorrectly, that we wouldn't be having unlicensed wholesaling cases before you anymore, because it is permissible with the 1, 2, and 3. And if an individual does not fulfill those requirements with written notification, it creates a cause of action against that person. It doesn't create a violation of our title. So this wholesaling provision is not in the Real Estate Broker Act. It is in another part of the law, of the Tennessee Code.
Okay.
So Tennessee Realtors likes this statute so long as the provisions are met by a wholesaler. You mean they're okay with it?
They had drafted it, to my knowledge, so I would assume so. Any other questions? Yes.
So we have had a stance on licensed activity, is that correct?
Correct.
So this is changing that thought, that if you do this, this, and this, you're good.
That would be my understanding, yes.
Okay.
But the unlicensed activity is a buyer purchasing, just a resident of Tennessee or wherever, purchasing a property And then, so the transaction's between a buyer and a seller. And then somebody comes along and wants to pay this buyer out of that contract.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused if that's unlicensed activity. Like if I have if I go to an auction and I buy it, there's somebody there and says, hey, I want to put this together. I'll pay you 10 grand for that contract. And I'm not a realtor at this time. I mean, that's wholesaling in definition, but,
Right.
you
But
know, was it
our-
really anything unlicensed activity? I mean, I was buying something and I signed
I
it.
think it would be unlicensed activity at that point because you do not own what you're offering or selling. Does that make sense? So if you have an exemption, we have certain exemptions for ownership, right? If you own your house outright, you can sell it without a license. But what this person would be doing is they would be entering a contract and selling an interest that they don't necessarily have an ownership interest in yet. So that's why we said if the person has an ownership interest, then they would be doing a FSBO, but they don't, the title hasn't been changed yet at that point. So they're just assigning the contract to whomever at that time.
I just think the unlicensed activity is not a good term because if a realtor does the same exact thing, is it legal at that point?
A realtor,
If I'm licensed,
if
I'm
you're licensed and you deal,
and I-
yes, it is.
And I get a contract and still never take any, I don't have any equity in the contract and sell it, does that make it legal?
It would be fine because you have a license with us. So it would be just,
Confused.
at that point, like, the way that our statutes and rules are written is if you're selling anything, if we go back to the Broker Act, the definition of it, let me just read it really quickly so we can get into perspective.
And I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, Anna.
So it says for a broker is for anyone by means for a fee, commission, or finder's fee, or any valuable consideration, with the intent or expectation receiving a fee, commission, finder's fee, or any valuable consideration from another, solicits, negotiates, or attempts to solicit or negotiate the listing, sale, purchase, exchange, lease, or option to buy, sell, rent, real estate, or improvements of real estate as defined as whatever. So that's like part of the definition for broker. And then in part B, it mentions any person, a broker also includes any person employed by or on behalf of the owner or owners of lots of other parcels or real estate at a salary, fee, or commission, or any other valuable consideration to sell that real property or any part of the real estate in lots or parcels or other disposition of the real estate. So I think what the issue is here is that person would be getting something that could be considered a fee, commission, or other valuable consideration because they're selling that contract for more and they're getting more money than the other person would initially. And it's a transfer of equitable interest.
So we saw a lot of that starting in COVID, where individuals and companies, wholesale companies, would come in and buy a house, and then they'd market it on their websites and stuff to try to get higher offers, and then sign the contract at that time. And that's what's brought this about.
So,
Well, it does state in the definition for a broker, it states that whether it also includes any person who engages in the business of charging an advance fee or contracting for collection of a fee in connection with any contract whereby the person undertakes primarily to promote the sale of the real estate, either through its listing in a publication issued primarily for that purpose or for referral of information concerning the real estate to brokers or both. Well, it states here, publication, listing in a publication, or promoting of the sale. And it doesn't say here how the sale is to be promoted, So that's how it, and the reason, if the reason we say unlicensed activity is because it is something that we have routinely said that a broker has to be involved in. And if someone else is doing something that's governed by our law, they don't have license, that it would be unlicensed activity.
Question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So what type of contract are most of these wholesalers use? Is it an option contract, or is it a purchase agreement, or do you know, or I'm trying to understand how they fit into the chain of title.
It's usually I think it would be correct me if I'm wrong. The option to buy is also a thing that I've seen wholesaling as referred to in those situations, but it could also be in a regular purchase and sale agreement. I think Commissioner Gahn has something to say.
With an assignment clause in it. So it'd be a regular purchase and sale agreement, and then they would put in there the ability to assign that contract.
Before they close?
When they wrote the contract.
No, I mean, where,
Yeah, they
to
can
assign the
Yes.
contract before they
Prior to-
close?
yes,
So they're
correct.
never taking title?
No.
Yes, that is the whole
That's the issue.
thing about wholesaling is the title has not been exchanged.
All you're selling is a paper.
I'm just curious why a seller would agree to that.
Quick sale.
They're not.
Most times they don't know because, until it closes and they sit, or at some point in time. So they may never know.
So in specific instances where we've seen wholesaling, it's usually from buyers or individuals that are out of state entities, and sometimes they do impact those vulnerable populations of individuals that, like Commissioner Gahn said, may not know about that assignment clause in a purchase and sale agreement. So that's kind of where it's happening. When we have had these cases and we've looked at them for unlicensed activity, it's almost nearly impossible for us to find those people because they don't work, like they're not in Tennessee at that time. So it's very difficult to find the person. So it's really mostly, I would say, some of these investment companies that are doing the work.
So if we have an individual is advertising, billboard, by your house, but they're not really buying the house, they're only writing a contract to close within 6 months at a different price or something like that, that's wholesaling, because they're not going to close till they find the other buyer.
Right.
So is that unlicensed activity?
I think if the information is disclosed to the person in writing, to the potential assignee, and the person is notified within the 3 days, then it would not be.
Would not be unlicensed activity?
I think this just removes unlicensed like wholesaling from, it permits it
It permits it.
With the proper disclosure.
with proper
Where
disclosures.
before, we questioned it.
Right.
But now with disclosures being 3 days and in writing. and
Correct.
then-
Right, and if someone violates that specific provision, then they would have a cause of action to handle in court.
But not here.
What do you mean not here?
Okay,
Not in the real estate
Right.
commission,
Right,
no,
but
it does
not
not fall
in
under our
this.
jurisdiction.
Right.
So if there's a violation of those disclosures, it would be that person to take it to court,
to court.
yes.
Okay.
So is it our task or the Tennessee Realtors' task or the General Assembly's task to inform the consumer about this?
If it passes, if this bill passes, then we'll probably do some kind of communication. Of course, we'll let our licensees know what happens, but then at that point, we'll figure out what to do, as it has been in other bills that have come before
Okay.
us. Okay, I have 3 more. The next bill is SB 1235 / HB 1237. So this prohibits governing bodies, which is what you are, of any state entity from certain practices based upon race, color, ethnicity, or national origin. So this would include inclusion or exclusion of membership on a board, discrimination or operating or establishing race-based practices. So violations of this provision would create a cause of action that includes compensatory and punitive damages, as well as a $4,000 penalty. In this particular provision, state sovereign immunity is waived. So if a governing body would to be found in violation of this provision, that would mean that the members can be sued in their individual capacity. So the way that this could potentially impact our commission is we do have a provision in our statute that talks about membership in the commission and states that we should strive to have an individual on the commission that is a racial minority and an individual that's over 60 years of age. So the portion about the racial minority would be removed from our statute related to that. Any questions? Okay, yes. This is, I don't know who brought this, but I can tell you the sponsors of the bill if you want to know. I know one of them is Representative Zachary, and the other is, hold on one second, it'll take, just give me 1 second, I'll give it to you. HB 1237. I want to say Rose, but I'm.
I think it's either Rose or
I think it's
Hallie.
one. I think it's Rose. Yes, it's Representative Zachary and Senator Rose. Okay. The next one is HB 0226 and HB 0470. This would establish the Professionals Freedom of Religion Act. It would make it unlawful for a government entity to take any adverse action against an applicant or a licensee for religious and faith-based beliefs and practice and convictions. We don't already do this, but there's a part in this that would apply to real estate licensees. Specifically, it would state, additionally, it's prohibited to deny membership or participation or terms or conditions of access to an MLS or a real estate broker organization based upon that individual's moral beliefs or religious beliefs. And specifically, an individual's lawful expression of those beliefs in a non-professional setting that does not involve real estate-related activities. So this applies to the MLS and real estate broker organizations. Also, real estate broker organizations would be prohibited from disciplining an individual based on their religious beliefs or moral beliefs. Also, it is prohibited for a real estate organization that controls, governs, operates, owns, manages an MLS to require membership in that organization as a condition for a licensed broker or affiliate broker to enjoy full use of the MLS, and provides that non-members cannot be charged a higher MLS participation fee. Also, if anyone found in violation of this clause, it creates a cause of action that would include payment of damages and attorney's fees. Commissioner Gahn, if you could turn on your microphone, please.
So an MLS can't charge a non-member more than they charge a member. Is that what that is saying?
Correct.
As Anna stated, these are proposed bills. Nothing is set in stone quite yet. We're just our legislative update.
Any questions else related to that? It doesn't directly impact our commission, but I know a lot of you are members of MLSs and or real estate broker organizations. So it is information to know. The last is HB 1330. slash SB 1316. It is the Less is More Act of 2025. This is a bill that is making several revisions to a lot of our regulatory boards. And there are a couple of provisions that are impacted specifically for the Real Estate Commission. The first is that this bill would remove the requirement for the Real Estate Commission to meet in each of the grand divisions once a year. Additionally, it removes the requirements that examinations and applications expire in 6 months. So it increases that 6-month time period to 2 years, and also gives the commission the discretion to waive or amend that requirement as needed. It further clarifies in our statute, because it's a bit murky, that late penalties for late renewals are limited to 12 months. And then the last one that would apply here is that it amends the requirements for reinstating an expired license. So it states that individuals that have an expired license have the ability to submit all of the continuing education hours that they've missed for that time period, or complete a commission-approved course of 30 hours of continuing education. This applies to individuals in temporary retirement, and it expands the licensure lapse period in our rules from 1 year to 2 years. And so essentially, if someone wanted to reactivate their license, it would be a payment. They would have the option of the payment of the fee and a completion of a 30-hour commission-approved course. That course doesn't exist yet at this time. So if this bill were to pass, then we would have continuing education providers that would create a course as the commission dictates how it should be set out for individuals to take that course for reinstatement purposes.
Does that bill include all of the things that you just read?
Yes.
They're not individual, so it's
It includes all of them.
all or none.
I mean, again, they're amendments, so amendments can remove or add provisions. But right now, this bill includes all of those things.
And that was brought by whose suggestion?
It is not,
It's not.
No, it wasn't from any real estate organization. It's sponsored by Representative Lambert and Senator Johnson. I believe,
Okay.
yes, it's a bill, it's an administration bill, so it does come from the governor's office.
Question. So,
Yes.
once you pass the test and get your license expired, I mean, this allows for not to have to retest, correct?
Do you want me to take it?
Essentially.
No, so
As long as you do the CE,
if you've completed the pre-licensing education, you have 6 months. Well, you take your test, then you have 6 months to affiliate with another firm. This will allow for you to have up to 2 years to affiliate with the firm.
but once you affiliate, 40 years go by, and like we heard today, and you let your license expire, currently it says you have to, after so many months or year or whatever, you have to retest.
Correct.
This will change that.
From
Yes.
1 year to 2.
No, it will change, it will change that to allow individuals the ability to pay the late fee associated with it and take a continuing education course.
And not retest.
Correct.
Correct.
But if you don't want to take the CE, you can retest. So the person still has options. You can either retest or you can take the 30-hour CE course.
Is this information that we should look at before, or is it just going to happen and then we know?
I
Or
mean,
do we have a choice?
w-
We don't have a choice. Okay.
so this is not anything that came from us. I'm the messenger
Okay.
of this at this point. But these are bills that are pending in the legislature at this time. Again,
Okay.
as we stated before, there are the abilities for amendments to occur. Or we also have to see if those bills pass. They have a lot of ways, they have lots of committees, have to get to the full floor and pass both chambers, and then be signed by the governor's office. Sometimes bills stall and are moved until the next session, but we're not really in control of that at this juncture. Any questions about any of the provisions in that bill?
Some I didn't care for, but some were okay.
Would you not care for?
Well, one thing is, and I hear it just like all the commissioners do, is when you come into East Tennessee, when you come into West Tennessee, because I think our members like that.
Right.
And what you just said was, we're not doing that.
It says that we aren't required to
Required.
meet in East Tennessee and West Tennessee. So right now, statutorily, we have to go to each of those divisions every year. So it's just saying that's not required. It doesn't say that we can't go. That became a slight issue for us during COVID when we were doing everything virtually. So that's what it's removing that you must go. So if for some reason, we enter another situation where we can't go to East Tennessee or West Tennessee, then we would not have to figure out a way to go around that. Okay, those are all my legislative updates. If you would like, I can send an email with the bill numbers, so you all can look them up online for yourself afterwards.
Thank you, Anna. Okay, are we prepared to move to the February consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. There are 6 cases that have been pulled. Cases 27, 45, 54, 79, 85, and 92. We'll entertain a motion to accept council's recommendations on the remaining case numbers that I did not mention.
Could you read them again?
27, 45, 54, 79, 85, 92. Is there a motion to accept council's recommendation on the cases that were not mentioned?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Torbett. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So to cases that were not excluded, we'll start with case 27. This was pulled by, I'll go ahead and say that all 6 of these was thoughtfully pulled by Commissioner Smith.
Where is Jeff when you need him? That's what I say. Where are you, Jeff, when I need you? So I'm going to need some assistance. Number 27 was talking about an anonymous complaint, and then it said respondent stated that all charges against them were dismissed. Respondent answered truthfully when they renewed their license, but stated they had not been convicted of a crime. And I just wondered if this was reviewed by the commission when it was, he had his license surrendered in one state and revoked in another.
It has not been renewed because there was no need to review it. There were no convictions of any kind.
Okay.
I have looked into the licensure in the other states. There was one disciplinary action in another state that I could find. The licensee didn't give much background on it, but I did not see anything that would require it to be brought before the commission. So it appeared to me, based on the paperwork that was provided by this licensee, that everything appeared to be in order.
Okay. Does anybody else see anything on that? Then I'll make a motion that I accept council's recommendation.
Motion made by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Torbett. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Case number 45.
Number 45 had been brought before us once before, and you want to refresh my mind, Kim?
This case was brought before you at one point. I recommended at that time litigation monitoring because the parties had kind of a messy background and there was a corresponding lawsuit in Chancery Court that was going on. At one point, there was an order that was handed down that I looked at and discussed with the complainant, and it appeared to be that it was in favor of moving forward with disciplinary action, which is why I brought it back and asked for it to be taken out of litigation monitoring and to move forward with a recommendation of a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to provide services with honesty and good faith. Moving forward, there has been some pre-hearing back and forth between myself and the counsel for the respondent. We were moving forward, and then the complainant contacted me out of the blue and said that they would like to withdraw their complaint.
Withdraw?
Yeah, they want it, never mind. They don't want to go forward, please withdraw and close the complaint. And to be clear, this is not an unsophisticated complainant. I'll just say that. I tried to move forward. I reviewed it with both co-counsel and general counsel, Mr. Driver, through channels to see, you know, if it's something that I wanted, that I could go forward with without the complainant's cooperation, and I just don't believe that I can meet my burden of proof without their cooperation, which is why I somewhat reluctantly bring it back to you all today and ask to close and flag. Should something else come up that I feel like I could meet my burden without that complainant cooperating, I may bring it back before you, because, like I said, this has kind of a long and drawn-out tortured history. But this is where I'm at now, and so I'm asking you to close and flag.
Then I'll make a motion that we close and flag number 45.
Yeah. And to be clear, it should say close and flag on the report. I said dismiss, but I'm asking for a close and flag.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Motion made by Commissioner Smith to close and flag case 45. Second by Commissioner Torbett. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you.
Number 54.
Number 54.
All right. You want to give an update on that one, too? I think this is.
This one's mine.
Oh.
So this one was an administratively opened case, and it came after a routine audit, and it was discovered that an affiliate was unlicensed and they're on a firm's roster. There was a related case that we had before that was previously presented to the commission, and they were assessed a $1,000 civil penalty for employing an unlicensed individual.
Mhm.
This one's against the affiliate specifically, and they were announced, like their license expired January 1st, 2024. The audit occurred April of 2024, and after they realized what it would take to reinstate their license, they kind of just said they didn't want to do it anymore. And they kind of seemed like very dismissive over the entire thing. And so I know like my recommendations for revocation is essentially I didn't want them to reinstate themselves and not have anything on the record of them having this issue. Since they didn't try to get reinstated, they had participated in a sale of their personal property, but essentially had presented themselves as a licensed realtor when they didn't have a license. And so I wanted something on the record showing that they had some kind of punishment. I'm open to different things other than revocation. I just wanted something there so they couldn't just get their license back with
Instead of
with
just
nothing.
revoking, you're suggesting a penalty.
I don't think they're going to participate at all. Realistically, they were very much uninterested in getting anything forward. They were pretty much like, I just let it lapse and I let it be expired. I think they believe that it's retired right now, but it's in expired status.
Okay.
So we're revoking an expired license, is what we're doing?
Well, they want it to just expire.
It's already expired. Essentially what I wanted them to do is just to have something on the record that if they decide to come back to real
It's
estate
there.
at some point, it wouldn't just show as they just reinstated with no
Right,
prior
but-
history.
Would that be a close and flag too, or does it just show up when they come back? There was, that this case was.
If it's flagged and they come back, I think they'd have to, we'd look at it, but essentially in our system, it would show up like that it was flagged, but it wouldn't show anything like any kind of history or it
So
wouldn't
we
stop
don't
them.
have to do a motion to flag it. It would automatically flag it.
No.
Well, if we flag it, close and flag, it's not gonna we'll see it as flagged, but it wouldn't impact that person's ability
Right.
to renew their license.
And that's what
That's what she's asking for.
That's what you're
is something
asking
that, yes.
okay. Then I'll make that motion that we close and flag.
Not revoke it,
Well, she says it's already expired.
but she wants to revoke it.
I wanted to revoke it just so it could show up like that, but
Oh, okay.
I'm open to a closing flag. It's just like if they decide to come back, they would have no history of any kind of discipline or issues kind of going forward.
Mike, what do you think about that?
So if it's a revocation, they have to apply and come before us before they can get a license. Am I correct?
I believe so. They have to do additional steps. Yes, basically. Yeah, in a sense, I think this way, my thought was just that it would be something on the record that it have discipline, like prior discipline in there, and or we could bring it back in front of the commission if they decided to get their license again.
Ms. Matlock, is
Commissioner Begley.
there anything in between revocation and close and flag that would accomplish what she wants, but not, throw the death penalty at them? I mean, that would affect them in.
I don't think so, because the only other disciplinary options we have, if we were to look at the whole spread is, letter of instruction, letter of warning, consent order, suspension, revocation, litigation monitoring. Those are the only options we have. I think and the only ones, that we could send to an individual that don't require them to sign a document would be the letter of instruction and letter of warning. But if we were to write, we usually, if we do revocation and a consent order, it's telling the person, if your license is revoked, these are the different types of circumstances in which you can reinstate your license. So I don't think there would be anything else that we could do at this point to keep track of it, the individual's license at this point, other than some kind of disciplinary action.
As of today, they could retest or reapply for their license again.
Right, so as of today, they could retest or reapply. If you don't want to do revocation, you could do a civil penalty instead, or you could do suspension or require them to take a CE class. Again, that's still requiring that individual to sign a consent order with some kind of requirement circumstances.
And if they didn't sign, they couldn't get their license back without some process.
Well, we cannot hold up an individual's license for failure to to sign a consent order. So if they have an outstanding consent order and they have signed it but haven't paid, that individual's license still has to be processed at that time. Our statute states that we can only stop licensure if someone has an outstanding final order from a judge. So from an administrative law judge. In that case, if they don't sign something that is an outstanding consent order that they haven't paid, it's in collections. And collections is either with a private company we have or the AG's office, depending on the amount that we assess to them. So with us, it's going to be the private company. But we can't hold up licensure for an unpaid consent order.
Can we revoke a license that is expired?
the license is expired, so it's not active at this time, but I think that person, the license, we still have they still have a license that they can renew.
This person could retest and reapply today and be an agent today because they've been expired for over a year. So the team at TREC would say, you're a retest, reapply candidate, and they would get a license as long as they pass the state and national exams. They could have a real estate license tomorrow.
But what we're revoking, that's not going to solve that problem, is it?
They would have to
I
come
mean, we're
before you
revoking a
all.
future license.
Well, they would have to come before you all before getting a license again.
So right, like if this person, their license is revoked and they're like, okay, let me sign, they sign the consent order, and that means that their license is revoked and that they would have to follow whatever circumstances are required to get your license back. If they don't sign the consent order, then the matter would proceed to a formal hearing.
Is there any disciplinary history with this licensee?
No, they don't have any.
I don't feel like revocation is the answer, but seems pretty stout. We've used that one. We've used it before for circumstances that merited it. I just don't. We just allowed 2 licensees here today to waive their retest after. Well, more than that. But at any rate, I don't know what the answer is right now. It's a good question.
Like revocation, it would follow them to other states and everything, right? Like if they fill out their application correctly, it says.
So if their license is revoked, we would report it, I believe, to the Arello disciplinary action database, just like we report other disciplinary actions. And so if another member state, were to check that disciplinary action database, they could see it. But also if that person were required to submit their information from Tennessee, like their licensure information, it would show that their license has been revoked.
I think there's a motion on the table to close and flag. Would you like?
I think it got a second.
Did it get a
I
second?
don't think it got a second. I'll second it.
Okay.
Motion to close and flag.
And we can vote on it, withdraw it, not pass it. Get another motion if you want.
I mean, if that's motion on the table is the motion on the table is to close and flag case 54, the respondent involved in that case, and a motion made by Commissioner Smith, second made by Commissioner Torbett. All in favor?
I got one question.
Okay.
So, close and flag, you say there isn't anything that shows up on their record. If we find them some dollar amount, even if they didn't pay it, it would show up on their record, correct?
Only if they signed it and agreed to pay it. The reason I went for revocation is it seemed like they weren't going to cooperate since they let it expire after they found out what they had to do to get a license back. So I didn't think that they would agree to any kind of civil penalty.
So it wouldn't show up on the record unless they signed the consent order?
Yes.
Okay.
Or if we went forward with formal hearing and there was a judgment out there.
I'm hesitant to the revocation just because we can assume that we can take the position to assume they don't want their license, so we'll just go ahead and revoke it, but we can't follow up with somebody a second or third time after it expires to make sure they don't want it. That's how, you follow me? So I think the close and flag for now, but I agree with Ariel, probably won't pay a civil penalty or won't consent to that either. But I just think revocation is, I get your thinking on it, but I think it's.
I know it's an extreme.
Yeah, but
recommendation.
and I'm not afraid of extremes. We've revoked a lot of license this year. But I think that's a good point, Mike. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Harold, is 79 you also?
Yes, I think the rest are mine.
Yeah, the last
Okay.
three are hers.
Do you want me to give an overview of this one? Or?
Please.
Okay. So for this one, it was also administratively opened, and this happened after an audit. And there was questions regarding the escrow account, and there was possible violation of commingling. The respondent stated that they only move money from the escrow account to the operating account after it's successfully closed on a property, and then any kind of deductions are made, and then moved into the operating account as needed. After review, I couldn't find too many things to confirm commingling. The issue was just like there's a lot of dates that were coming from the escrow account, and I think there's a concern of how many checks were coming out of that escrow account to the operating account.
Then I'm going to agree with council's recommendation and make a motion, a letter of warning.
Motion made by Commissioner Smith to accept council's recommendation on case 79, second by Commissioner Begley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. Case 85.
Would you do an overview, please?
So for this one, it is related to another case that we had before. The individual is unlicensed, but they're presenting as a property management firm. However, in this one, from the other related case, the respondent has changed essentially. They went under another management team. And so my recommendation was to close and open an administrative complaint against the proper respondent just because there's a new company in charge. And I didn't feel confident I could go forward with this one on this new management.
Okay. I make a motion that we accept council's recommendation on number 85.
Motion made by Commissioner Smith to accept council's recommendation on case 85, second by Commissioner Tucker. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. Case 92.
This one's a represent, and the initial complaint was about a landlord-tenant issue, but we don't go for those ones. But during that investigation, it was discovered that the respondent was unlicensed, and so the original recommendation was $1,000 for unlicensed activity. From that last presentation to now, I've spoken with the council, with that respondent, and they are owner-operators of the property, but they don't own 100% of the properties. And so it's a corporation that owns it, and they're going for it from that. The concern and what I wanted to bring to discussion was if they qualify for the exemption, although they don't own 100% of the properties that they are renting out or advertising. It's like they're owners, but not 100%. It's a corporation. I don't know, it's weird.
So they don't own 100%, but they own a large percentage.
That's the way that I took it. Originally, they thought they owned 100%, and then I guess looking at some deeds, there's probably a couple of properties that they don't own outright, but it's a corporation that's owning multiple things, and they're acting as property managers. So I didn't know where that.
Do you think they have a controlling interest, like 51%?
I believe they are really involved in this, yes. I think they own the majority of them.
Okay.
But since it wasn't like 100% owned and they're not technically a person or an individual, they're just a corporation, and that is part of the exception exemption, I genuinely had no clue where to go forward on that one.
Is the general partner a person, not a corporation, correct?
It's a corporation as a whole.
The GP is a corporation?
Yes, it's a corporation.
Ah.
Commissioner Begley, will you turn on your mic, please?
There's a corporation that's managing the property or owns the property, and there's partners inside. So some of those partners are also corporations, is what he's asking. So, like, if you had Joe and Steve's corporation, and then you had inside of that, is it individuals' names, or is it like Stacy and
I believe
DJ's
okay, so it's a
LLC?
corporation, like the partners, I believe, are individuals.
Yeah, that's what you're asking,
Is
right,
that what you?
Steve?
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood then.
I find it hard to believe that a person is a general partner. There's a lot of liability that goes with a GP as opposed to being GP if you're a corporation, which limits your liability. So that was the only thing I was asking. Is that it says they stated I don't know who if they is a company or a person.
The complaint, which is like just the corporation.
Okay.
They own some of them, but
So, just for clarity, I'll provide you, we have an AG opinion related to ownership and corporations. So one of the questions says, would a corporate entity that owns less than 100% of a particular property be exempt from the broker license requirement with respect to that property? And the answer says the corporate entity would be exempt from the license requirement only with respect to the activities involving the specific portion of the property it owns. The license requirement would apply to any activities involving the property as a whole or specific parts of the property that the corporate entity did not own. No, so basically that means if you don't own the whole property, then you are required to be licensed.
And that answers the question.
So it's saying that there's no way that there can be a part of a whole. So if you are a corporation and you, your ownership, your corporate exemption only applies to the percentage that you own of that property. So you cannot market something for sale that you do not fully own. Does that make sense?
No, because if there's 4 owners,
Commissioner Begley?
there's 4
Thank you,
owners
sir.
in 100, so I own a quarter of 100 units.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 4 owners, and can I only manage 25 of those, or can I manage?
Correct. You can only sell the portion, that you would own. You cannot sell all of them.
Right, I think right now, they're talking about leasing, I think. So, can there be a managing partner that manages a property and they only own 25% of that property?
So I still think if it's a lessee, it only applies to a percentage of the person's ownership interest.
So basically, it's back to unlicensed activity.
Well, it's I'm just providing that context for you of what the AG's opinion provides. Of course, you can choose to interpret things differently than what they have done, but that's what we have been used when we were asking these specific questions in 2019. I know the girl that wrote the opinion. She's pretty smart, but she needed some answers. And I'm just giving you the answers that she got for the questions she was asking for.
Like what Steve was asking, a lot of times.
Your mic, please, sir.
A group will own, just to clarify, is this right, Steve? Like, we have a partnership, and we own 100% of that property. But then we gave up 1% of that property to a general partner management firm, so they have the liability. Is that what you're talking about, Steve?
More or less,
Yeah,
yes.
so it's the same owners, but there's a general partner that's the managing partner that has the liability, and the other owners are kind of protected under an umbrella.
So
And
it's 99 and 1? more or less, but my understanding is you have to get that 1% of a person to agree. Can't sell 99% of a property.
Well, it's a partnership that we're talking about, right? Or no?
It's a corporation.
It's a corporation with different members.
Right. And I mean, individuals set up their corporations different ways for certain purposes. So I have to believe that if more than one entity, person, whatever, owns different portions, it's intended for a reason, and that only not a minority would be able to act on behalf of everyone.
It could have that there are certain decisions within the corporation that have to have a vote. For example, putting a mortgage on it or selling it has to be more than a certain percentage, whereas managing it, signing a lease, normal day-to-day things could go to a less than 50%, let's say, owner.
Right, so those decisions, of course, are permitted to be made, but when it comes to that purchase and sale agreement, it would need to have everyone within the corporation on it.
This says that their license is expired, right?
Yeah, they had a firm license, I believe, and that one's expired, but I think they believe that they were operating.
Because they're
Well, 'cause
owner-operators, what they're
Yeah.
thinking.
I think so, and they're just doing
The
property
AG
management.
is saying from 2019 that it's got to be, you got to own it 100% to be exempt.
Or 100% of the entities have to agree to sell the property, right? Or 100%.
She didn't distinguish between what kind of decisions within that realm apply, right? In other words, it's 100% no matter what you're doing.
100% when it comes to selling
Right.
a particular property.
This is leasing property.
Yeah,
Same-
Leasing a
same.
property.
Okay.
It says own or lease, so it doesn't matter whether it's
Right.
selling, leasing, it doesn't matter. 100%, according to the AG. Okay.
I mean, I would be obliged to dismiss it, but if there's an AG ruling that's stating that, you know. Pay the $1,000
Yeah.
and just move on. If you're the complainant, but, because it does sound, because I understand the statute.
I can always go back to the general counsel for them and get additional information if you guys would like, to see like how the structure of their business is set up and represent it again in April, yeah.
I
that
mean,
works.
is it worth our time? I don't know. I mean, for your time, TREC's time. What do y'all think? I mean, this does not give me a lot of heartburn. I don't think if you go back to the, thank you for offering that, Ariel. Maybe we might take you up on that, but the respondent had to deal with somebody who had submitted roughly 68 work orders. Jiminy Cricket. And they couldn't appease them. And they're trying to appease them. They're trying to offer them another apartment, and now, I don't know, we're hitting them up for unlicensed activity when they thought that they were okay because they owned more than 51%, sounds like. I know it's not 100%, but maybe we do need to find that out just to have our records clean and I'd say let's find the record out. What exactly percentage do they own before we issue a $1,000 penalty? Does that sound, what do y'all think? That'd be great, Joe.
I'll make a motion that we postpone, what do we say there? Defer this and let council do some additional research and bring it back to us at a future time.
Motion made by Commissioner Begley to defer for council to do additional research, a second by Commissioner Tucker. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That concludes the legal consent agenda.
Is there any additional commission discussion or new business? Yes, sir.
Just want Jeff and Robin Diaz to know that we're thinking about them this week.
Thank you. I know they appreciate that.
I will not be at the meeting in April.
Thank you. We will notate that you will not be at the meeting in April.
What's the date in April, please?
I'm so glad you asked. That was the next thing I was going to read. The next meeting is April 9th, 2025 at the Greater Chattanooga Realtors, located at 2963 Amacola Highway in Chattanooga.